The messenger delusion syndrome transformed a lovesick young man into a cold-blooded killer in the blink of an eye. Uncover the psychological profile of Adrian Cole, a man obsessed with playing the role of a savior and manipulating the mafia boss's daughter. When the rescue plan fails due to Elena's rejection, his narcissistic ego shatters, leading to violent kidnapping and extortion. Conversely, Elena's attempt to make herself the bait reveals an extraordinary psychological transformation. From avoidance syndrome, she chooses to confront the trauma of her own family head-on.
All right, let's break it down. Case file, Elena Varelli. She's trying to fade into the wallpaper at her own party, a ghost in a designer dress. This is what happens when your family tree is basically a chokehold. And tonight, the engagement party is the final nail in the coffin, the ceremony where they brand her like cattle. The real horror show isn't escaping some bad guy. It's that the prison was built inside her head and they taught her to call it home. And the warden, Lucian. Her obsession with the family golden boy is a classic case of Stockholm Syndrome, clinging to the dude who is both her biggest problem and her only hope. The elevator is waiting. It's either her ride back to hell or a one-way ticket to, well, anywhere but here. Her fingers start shaking, a tiny rebellion she smothers by gripping her champagne glass. This whole ballroom is a shark tank full of guys in $1,000 suits, and it's the only world she's ever known. Perfect place for her particular brand of crazy to bloom. Her smile, totally fake. Behind it, she's screaming her head off. And then, a voice, Adrian Cole. He leans in, handsome and completely clueless. "Like you were made for this," he says, and the words just burn. This guy is from a world with no monsters, which makes him totally useless to her. 6 months back, she thought he could be her get-out-of-jail-free card. Yeah, that was a serious, predictable screw-up. She throws up a wall of words. "I've been busy." But Adrian, bless his heart, just keeps pushing, totally blind to the invisible prison she's living in. "We need to talk about us, Elena." Her response is a knife. Quick, clean. "There is no us, Adrian." All he sees is fear in her eyes. Some simple girl's fear. He's just projecting his own safe little world onto her nightmare. "You made it clear you were scared." "Buddy, you have zero idea what she's actually afraid of." He reaches out, and she flinches back like she's been hit. It's a reflex, one she learned from years of living on a knife's edge. He starts talking about a gilded cage, and the diagnosis is so dumb it's almost an insult, offering himself up as the solution. She's literally choking on frustration. "Dude, the cage isn't the problem, it's the keeper." Her eyes drift across the room, pulled by a force she can't resist, right to him. Lucian, surrounded by his crew, he's the source of all her terror and the only place she feels safe. A perfect, beautiful disaster that is absolutely going to get her killed. Lucian Varelli, her cousin, the heir. For 5 straight years, he's been the guy running the show inside her head. He moves with this low-key promise of violence, a guy who owns every single room he walks into. And her love for him, totally one-sided for 5 agonizing years, is a masterclass in how to slowly lose your mind. To him, she's just another responsibility, a box to check off a list. Every cold look he gives her is another twist of the knife, just making that messed up bond between them even tighter. Adrian's voice is just background noise now. She turns back to him, her voice suddenly arctic. "We are done." She's wiping the slate clean, getting ready for the only fight that matters. "Is there someone else?" The question hits like a scalpel, aimed right at her deepest wound. Her face goes blank, a perfect mask, and her denial is a lie she's told 1,000 times. It's pure instinct, a desperate attempt to protect the sacred, twisted thing she has for Lucian. But rejecting him makes Adrian's senses sharpen. That handsome, nice guy act starts to crack, showing something way harder underneath. "You're lying," he says, his voice low, cornering her. "I know when you're hiding something." Then a hand lands on the small of her back. She doesn't have to look. Every part of her knows his touch. It's not comforting. It's pure ownership. Lucian's voice slices through the air, a quiet challenge to Adrian that's all about territory. A king telling a peasant to back off his property. Adrian just deflates, immediately recognizing the alpha in the room. And in his eyes, you see it. The light bulb goes on. He looks from Lucian's possessive hand to Elena's frozen face. His jaw locks. The awful truth is finally starting to hit him. Adrian plays his final card, the one he thinks is a game winner, the arranged marriage, a move by a psycho king using his own daughter as a chess piece. "There is no engagement," Elena explodes, the words ripping out of her in a raw, rebel yell. Both men whip their heads toward her. That kind of outburst? A massive violation of the family rules. Lucian's hand tightens on her back, a silent, bone-crushing order. "Your father said—" Adrian tries, but Lucian's voice cuts him off dead. One word. A final warning. "Elena, don't!" She whirls on him, a total system shock after a lifetime of just taking it. He's so close she can feel his body heat, a feeling that's always been both incredible and devastating. "Don't what?" She fires back, her voice shaking with some terrifying new power. "Don't disagree with my father. Don't have one single opinion about my own life." His eyes are pure ice. His answer is the absolute law of their entire world. "Everything in this family is my decision." Those words hit her like a punch, and something inside her finally shatters for good. The crack runs right through her, a psychic earthquake breaking through years of being the perfect, obedient girl. She slams her empty glass on a passing tray, and the sound is like a gunshot in the dead silent ballroom. Every head snaps in their direction. It's a huge, messy scene, a public FU to their sacred code of unity. Lucian leans in, his voice a silk-wrapped threat. "Walk away right now, and I promise you will regret it." She looks him dead in the eye, all the wreckage of her heart right there for him to see. "I already regret plenty." And with that, she runs. She doesn't make it 2 steps. Adrian grabs her arm, his grip like a vice. Oh, the irony, he's doing the exact thing she's running from. He's still trying to play the hero, still completely misreading this entire disaster. Let go. The command is pure steel, but he just ignores it. His grip gets tighter, his own frustration twisting his face into something ugly, something she's never seen. He gets right up in her personal space, his voice a raw whisper, and he drops the bomb. "You're in love with him." It's not a question, it's an indictment. The whole world just stops. "What?" she whispers, but it's a pointless denial. Adrian starts listing the evidence like a detective at a crime scene. How she always knows where Lucian is, the way her body tenses when he's around. How she just lets him touch her like he owns her. Every word is another nail in her coffin. "He doesn't own me," she cries, the classic line of a total addict. Adrian's final words are just brutal, a mirror showing her the ugliest part of her own soul. "From where I'm standing, it looks like you'd let him do anything he wanted." She turns and bolts, but that truth is chasing her right down the hall. Adrian crowds her, getting way too close, and for the first time, she feels a real spike of fear in her gut. Did you really think you could just walk away from me after I spent months taking you apart, piece by piece, becoming exactly what you needed? I never asked for that. You didn't have to. I saw you suffering, saw you trapped in this cage with wolves snapping at you. I was trying to save you. I don't need saving. You do. You just don't know it yet. And then his whole face changes. Something cold and calculating flashes in his eyes. And if you won't let me save you my way, well, I guess I'll have to find another. The threat just hangs there, sharp and absolute. Elena's heart starts slamming against her ribs. Adrian, you're making a huge mistake. Lucian Varelli will never love you. He can't love anyone. He will use you. He will break you. And when he's done, he will throw you out like trash. That isn't your problem. It's my problem because I care about you. You don't care about me, she fires back, her voice going ice cold. You care about the idea of me, the little lost girl you could rescue from the monster's lair. But I'm no Princess Adrian, and this is not a fairy tale. A muscle in his jaw twitches hard. You're going to regret this. Maybe, she says, but that regret will be mine, all mine. She turns and walks, the frantic beat of her own heart pounding in her ears. She can feel him staring at her back, his whole vibe shifting from desperate to straight-up evil. She doesn't dare look back. She had to bail. Not now, not like this. She gets to the elevator and just starts hammering the button. The doors slide open, a small miracle, and she practically falls inside. That's when the shaking starts, a full-body tremor that rattles her down to her bones. The plan was so easy. Get to the room, snag the go bag, vanish. She had cash stashed, a car parked 3 blocks away, a guy waiting to drive her over state lines before anyone even noticed she was missing. She'd been planning this for weeks. Tonight was the night. While everyone was drunk and distracted, she'd be long gone. Just get to the garage. Just get to the damn car. And the elevator doors start to close, but a hand shoots out and stops them. The doors slide back open, and Elena's heart just seizes up. It was him, Lucian. His face was a total blank, completely impossible to read. Going somewhere? Her brain was scrambling. My room. I have a headache. It was the worst lie ever. He stepped inside, and the doors slid shut, trapping them in the tiny box. The air got thick, heavy, like you couldn't breathe. Elena pressed herself against the back wall, trying to find space that wasn't there. Lucian's arm brushed against hers as he reached past and slammed the emergency stop button. With a nasty jolt, the elevator went dead in the shaft. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "I'm stopping you from making the single biggest mistake of your life." "You don't get to make that call for me. I do when this family's on the line." "I'm not your family," she snapped. "Not in any real way. I'm just the orphan your uncle scooped up after my parents died. Some charity case with a name you could use." For a split second, something flickered in his eyes. Maybe it was pure rage, or some nasty, jagged cousin of pain. "You actually believe that? It's the life I live. Then you're more lost than I ever imagined." That one stung, but she'd die before she let it show. "Let me go." "Lucian." "No, that was not a request. Neither is this." He stalked toward her, pressing her back against the cold metal wall. "You want to run? Go ahead. but you'll look me in the eye and tell me why. I don't owe you a damn thing. You owe this family the very oxygen you breathe. I owe this family nothing, she screamed, her voice breaking. I never asked for any of this. I never wanted to be in your world, and I am so done pretending that I do. So you're just gonna walk out? Tonight? In the middle of a party for you? It is not for me. It's a merger. I'm being shipped off to Marco Romano like a piece of cargo, and everyone's smiling like it's a fairy tale wedding. You are not being sold. Oh, really? What do you call it when my own father trades my engagement to a guy I've never had a real conversation with? Lucian's jaw locked up tight. It is a strategic alliance. It's my life. Your life belongs to this family. And that's the whole sickness right there, she said, her voice finally cracking wide open. I don't get a life. I get a job description. And I quit. For a long, tense moment, they just glared. Elena saw the stress coiled in his shoulders, the way his knuckles were white from clenching his fists. He was livid. Good. His rage was a hell of a lot better than the usual block of ice she got from him. Where are you planning to go? He finally bit out. Anywhere, everywhere, it doesn't matter. It matters to me. Why? So you can drag me back, lock me up until the ceremony, so I can know you're safe. A noise, half laugh, half sob, ripped out of her. Safe from what? The only person I've ever needed protection from is you. And just like that, his composure shattered. Me? Yes, you. The words just poured out, a dam breaking after years of quiet, desperate agony. Do you have any clue what that's like? Being around you every day, watching you treat me like I'm some fragile doll, a project you have to babysit and protect and always, always keep a mile away? Elena, I am not a little girl, Lucian. I haven't been for a long, long time, but you still see that scared 18-year-old who landed on your doorstep? You box me out of the business. You box me out of anything that means something. And now you really think you can stand there and physically block me from leaving? I have every right, he growled, his voice a low, threatening rumble. My job is to protect you. I am not yours. I don't belong to anybody. You're wrong. He moved with a predator's speed she never saw coming, closing the gap in 2 steps. His hands shot up not to hurt her, but to cup her face, forcing her to meet his gaze. For one insane second, she thought he was going to kiss her. He didn't. He just held her there, his thumbs tracing her cheekbones, his stormy eyes drilling into hers with a fire that burned. You want to know why I keep my distance? His voice was raw, that legendary control gone. Because if I ever let you in, I would destroy you. I would take every decent, pure thing in you and twist it into something as dark and screwed up as I am. And I have been trying. God, Elena, I've been trying so hard not to do it. Her heart was jackhammering against her ribs, a wild rhythm blocking out everything else. What are you saying? I'm saying you're right. You're not a kid. You haven't been for years. And I have known it every single day, and it has been absolute torture. Lucian, do you get what that's like? To watch you become this incredible, strong woman and know that I can never touch you, that I can never have you, that I have to stand around while morons like Cole try to. He choked on the words, a muscle twitching in his jaw. You think I don't see you? You think I don't know? Her breath caught. Know what? That you love me. The entire world spun sideways. Elena tried to yank away, but his grip was iron. Don't lie. Not now. Not about this. His hold eased up, but his eyes were locked on her. I've known for a year, maybe longer, and I played dumb because admitting it meant I'd have to admit how I feel, and I can't. His voice cracked, the last word. I cannot let myself feel that for you. Why not? Because I'm poison, Elena. Everything I touch dies. Because you deserve a hell of a lot more than a guy with more blood on his hands than he can count. A guy who would burn this city to ash just to keep you safe. Tears started to sting her eyes. You don't get to decide what I deserve. Somebody has to. You won't. So what's the plan? The words were like swallowing glass. You just shove me away forever? Watch me marry some other guy? We just act like this isn't real? His face was a mask of pure torment. Yes. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, princess. Welcome to the real world. That nickname was a punch to the gut. He'd said it once, years back, after some stupid complaint she'd had. She hated it then, and she hated it now. Let me go, she whispered. Lucian, please. The elevator jolted, shoved by something outside. A deep boom echoed up the shaft. The lights flickered, went black, then flashed back on. They both went still. What was that? Elena whispered. In a blink, Lucian transformed. The tortured soul was gone, replaced by the stone-cold killer she knew. A gun was in his hand, appearing from inside his jacket like a magic trick. She didn't even see him move for it. He shifted, planting himself directly between her and the doors. Get behind me, he commanded. What's happening? Don't know, but it's not good. A second explosion, much closer this time, rocked the car so hard she nearly fell. With his free hand, Lucian whipped out his phone, already dialing. Marco, status! A pause. Got it. Get them to the panic room, now. He killed the call, his eyes finding hers in the weird light. We have to go. Go where? We're in a metal box. He holstered his piece and reached up, his fingers digging into the ceiling panel. With a raw, brutal display of strength, he yanked himself up through the hole into the total blackness of the shaft. He stared down at her from the darkness, his hand reaching out. Come on. A question, so obvious it was stupid, formed on her lips. You want me to climb out into the elevator shaft? His answer was cold, all business. Unless you want to stick around and see who's setting off those bombs, yes. She grabbed his hand. The sheer force he used to pull her up was a scary reminder of his power. Now they were on top of the car, with a dark, bottomless pit falling away below them. The fact she was wearing heels suddenly seemed fatally idiotic. Don't look down, Lucian ordered. Wasn't planning on it. He found the service ladder on the wall, gave it a hard yank to check it. It's good. Climb right behind me and don't stop till you hit the top. The climb started. Her muscles screamed and she felt the silk of her expensive dress catch and rip. Then they heard it. Shouting from way down below, then the distinct sound of automatic weapons fire. This wasn't a warning. This was a full-on attack on the mansion, right in the middle of a party crawling with every major player in the city. This was either the bravest move in history or the dumbest. At the top of the shaft, Lucian busted open a service door, dragging them into a dusty utility hall. He pulled his gun again, already moving. Where are we going? She asked, gasping for air. Control room. We need eyes. He led her through a maze of service corridors she never even knew were there. He moved through the estate's guts with the scary confidence of a guy who'd built the map in his head. They came out into a small, clean room filled with security monitors, where 3 armed guys stood, their faces grim in the blue light. When Lucian walked in, they snapped to attention. "Report," he said, his voice flat. "East Wing is gone," one of them said. "We're looking at 20, maybe more hostiles," came in the service entrance. Pro gear, military-grade weapons. No body count yet. Most guests are in lockdown, but we got reports of others pinned down. Who are they? No idea. No faces, no logos. They're ghosts. The monitor feeds flickered across Lucian's face, a storm of chaos that didn't even make him blink. He was processing it all, breaking down the attack like a god watching ants fight. This was him, cold, calculating, a total control freak. And then, a crack. His eyes locked onto a single screen, a tiny fracture in his armor. "Camera 12! Blow it up!" The tech's fingers flew. The image sharpened into a view of the ballroom, a wasteland of broken crystal and ruined decorations. And in the middle of it all... "Adrian?" Elena breathed. The name was a ghost in the room. Her ex-boyfriend, now commanding these monsters in uniform. As they watched, he gave a signal and 2 more soldiers appeared from the smoke, dragging a man between them. A chill shot through Elena. "That's my father." A nerve in Lucian's jaw went ballistic, one hard twitch that was the only sign of the absolute earthquake happening inside him. "Get Marco on the line. Tell him we've got a snake in the house." "Right away." On screen, Adrian was talking to the hostage, but the audio was useless. The old man's terror was a silent scream blasting through the entire room. "He was leaking intel," Lucian said, his voice dropping to a deathly quiet. "That explains the breach. Why they hit us now? Why this way?" "This is insane," Elena shot back, her brain refusing to put the pieces together. "Adrian has nothing to do with any of this." Lucian finally tore his eyes from the screen to hers. "He's been attached to your hip for months, Elena, playing the part, and tonight you cut him loose." The truth hit her like a damn freight train, completely rearranging her reality in a split second. "This is my fault." "No, this is who he is." "But I'm the one who—" "Enough." Lucian pivoted, his entire body screaming with barely contained violence. "You will not carry the blame for his sins. This was planned way before you walked out on him tonight." Just then, a second explosion tore the air apart, way closer this time, like a giant hammering on the front door. The lights died, plunging them into total darkness before flickering on in the cold, red glare of the backup power. "We gotta move," a guard yelled. "They're making a play for the control room." Lucian gave a single nod. "Elena, you head to the safe room with—" "No." The word was quiet, but it froze him solid. "This isn't up for debate." "You're right. I'm not going to hide in a bunker while my family gets torn to shreds." "If you get captured, they've already got my father. If Adrian is on their team, he knows exactly what I'm worth to them." She looked him dead in the eye, a straight-up challenge. "I can be an asset." "You're not trained for this." "I'm not an idiot, and I know how Adrian's twisted mind works better than anyone here. I can predict his next move." Lucian just stared at her for a long, heavy moment, the cold math of risk versus reward running behind his eyes. A curse slipped out, low and raw. "You don't leave my side, not for a single second. If I tell you to run, you run. Got it?" "Got it." He grabbed a heavy-duty pistol from a weapons locker and shoved it into her hands. "You know how to use that thing?" "You have no idea." For just a flash of a second, something, maybe even approval, flickered across his face. "Move out." They moved like a single organism, a 4-person death squad running through the service tunnels. Elena could feel a drum solo hammering against her ribs, a wild, panicked beat, but her grip on the gun was rock steady. Buried deep was a history of training, a mental fortress built for exactly this kind of day she hoped would never come. At a concrete crossroads, Lucian's fist shot up. Halt. The sound of a boot scraping the floor up ahead. The quiet click of a safety coming off a rifle. He gave silent commands with just his hands and his eyes. 2 guys broke off, vanishing into the shadows to flank, leaving Lucian and the other guard to bracket Elena. The attack was sudden, brutal. A quick punctuation mark of violence. 3 sharp gunshots echoed, 2 bodies dropped, and the silence that rushed in afterward felt 100 times heavier than before. "Clear!" a voice hissed from the dark. They kept moving. The hallways, once so familiar to Elena, were now some twisted landscape from a nightmare. They stepped over the dead. Some were guys she recognized, some weren't. Every body was just another brick weighing on her soul. This was the world she'd tried so hard to pretend wasn't real. They finally made it to the safe room entrance, a reinforced steel door camouflaged behind a fake wall of fancy books. Lucian's fingers flew over a keypad. The wall slid away, revealing not a sanctuary, but a cage of barely managed chaos. A room designed for 20 people now crammed with twice that. In the middle of it all stood Marco Varelli, her father's most trusted soldier and Lucian's second in command. The hard-ass lines on his face actually softened when he saw them. "Thank God, we're completely cut off." "They're jamming all comms. This is a pro job." Marco's gaze fell on Elena. "She doesn't belong here. She's a liability." "Her being here wasn't a suggestion," Lucian said, his voice totally flat. Marco's reply was pure, bitter resignation. "Of course not. She's a Varelli." He pointed to his own setup of monitors. "We've got them pinned in the East Wing, but they're dug in deep, and they've got Dominic." The news that her father was officially captured landed like a body blow, but Elena's face was a perfect, unmoving mask. "How many are we talking?" 30, could be more." "They're messing with us, moving around to look like a bigger force." "Smart," Lucian grunted. "Who's their shot caller on the ground?" "Your boyfriend." Elena flinched like she'd been slapped. Lucian's face turned to solid ice. "He is not my boyfriend, and I know. We saw Adrian Cole on the security feeds." Marco just shook his head. "Never trusted that kid. Always too perfect, too hungry." "He's not working alone," Lucian noted. "This op is way too clean for him. Who benefits the most if we go down tonight?" "That's a long list. The Romanos, the Castiglianos, the New York syndicates. Hell, it could be a traitor in our own ranks. We're never more exposed than when we're celebrating." "No." Elena stepped up, her mind suddenly putting it all together with terrifying clarity. "This isn't about exposure. This is about the audience." Both men snapped their heads toward her. "Think about it," she pushed. Every major family is in this house tonight. If something happens, if my father is killed, if Lucian is killed, it all goes down in front of witnesses. There's no covering it up, no spinning the story later. Whoever is behind this, they want a public execution. Lucian's eyes narrowed to slits. A power play. Or a revolution, Marco added, his voice grim. You chop the head off the snake in front of the entire world, create a power vacuum, and then you waltz right in to take over. So who's taking over? Elena asked. Who has the most to gain? The answer hit all three of them at the exact same time. One single horrifying name. Romano, Lucian said, the name sounding like a curse. Marco spit on the floor. The engagement announcement. It was supposed to happen tonight. If something happens to Dominic before it's official. Marco Romano becomes the heir by default, Elena finished, the words tasting like poison. As my fiancé, his claim to the family's assets would look completely legitimate. That son of a bitch! Lucian's voice was pure acid now. This whole engagement, it wasn't a partnership. And with the opening move of a hostile takeover. And Adrian? Elena's voice was just a whisper. A pawn. A broken little toy they could wind up, aim, and throw away when they were done. Lucian turned to Marco, his eyes practically on fire. Where is Romano right now? He's in this room. He's been in here this whole time. The command was ice cold. Bring him to me. Marco paused for a half second, the sheer balls of the accusation clashing with a lifetime of loyalty. Then he moved. He cut through the crowd of terrified guests and came back with a man in his 60s, Marco Romano Sr. The guy was wearing a warm, grandfatherly expression, a mask crafted from pure backstabbing bullshit. He walked toward them, faking the perfect concerned look. Lucian, my boy, thank God. What a nightmare. Who in God's name would... The act was over. Stop! Lucian's gun came up, aimed dead center at Romano's chest. It was you. The low hum in the room just died. Every sound stopped. Romano's concerned grandpa mask melted away, revealing the stone-cold killer underneath. That is an extremely serious accusation. It's a fact. You set up this whole goddamn tragedy to break the family and snatch the throne. The engagement. Just a beautiful, perfectly planned lie. Romano's answer was ice cold. You don't have any proof. I have enough. Lucian gestured at the monitors, their blue light hitting his face. Your men are getting sloppy. Their formation is a carbon copy of the one you used in the Castano job. Same entry points, same rotation schedule. The grunts are new, but the signature Romano is all yours. A muscle in Romano's jaw twitched. Even if that little fantasy of yours were true, what are you going to do? Shoot me? Not here, not with this audience. Killing me now just proves their point, that you're unstable, that the family needs a new boss. He's not wrong. Elena's voice sliced through the tension, sharp as glass. Two apex predators turned their heads at the same time. Killing him changes nothing. I need my father back. This has to end without any more bloodshed, and it has to end with Romano's treason exposed and Lucian not looking like some maniac. I am a maniac, Lucian stated, like it was a fact of life. Yeah, she agreed, but you're our maniac. Big difference. Her eyes snapped back to Romano. You want to make a deal? Fine. Let's make a deal. Romano's entire vibe changed, the cornered animal becoming the cold-blooded strategist. What are you proposing? A trade, she said. Me for my father. No. Lucian's response was instant, a gut reaction. She completely ignored him. Adrian is obsessed with me. It's the only reason he's here, the only reason he'd team up with you. This attack was never just a random act of war. Hours ago, I dumped him. This is just a last-ditch effort from a guy who can't handle the ending. So give him what he wants. Me. Lucian starts to protest. Elena. But she cuts him off. The trade? You pull every last man. No revenge, no follow-up. You walk. Official story is some outside crew hit us, and we all go home. Romano just watches her, and you can see this cold, analytical curiosity in his eyes. And tell me, why would I ever agree to that? Because if you don't, Lucian kills you right here, right now, and to hell with the fallout. He won't. Too many witnesses. You want to bet on that? That question just hung there, thick and heavy. Seems to me you've totally miscalculated how far he'll go for this family. And for me... Romano's eyes flick back to Lucian, and you can see it. The gears turning, a little flicker of fear. He looks at Lucian's face and sees nothing but the promise of a fresh grave. And just like that, he decides. 1 hour, Romano snaps. I'm setting up the exchange. You mess with the terms. Even a little, the whole thing's off. Elena locks eyes with him. You have my word, the word of a Varelli. A dry, ugly laugh crawls out of Romano. That and $5 get me a coffee. He whips out his phone and starts dialing. Elena can't make out the words, just sees the muscles in his jaw twitching. The call ends. He gives a sharp nod. They're in. Main ballroom. 30 minutes. Lucian steps up, trying to close the gap. I'm going with her. Nope. She walks in alone or the deal vaporizes. Not happening. Then I guess we're stuck, Romano says, pocketing his phone. It's your call, Varelli, your ego, or her father's life. The damn air in the room feels like it's about to shatter from the weight of Lucian's silent, raging war with himself. You could read the entire battle on his face. Finally, his eyes lock onto hers. Do you trust me? He asks, his voice a low rumble just for her. What a question. Completely, she replies. Then trust me right now. He signals Marco with a tiny nod. Get the vest. Marco disappears and comes back with a thin, concealable plate carrier. Elena shrugs off her jacket, not caring who's watching as they strap the thing on her. The weight is instant, like a heavy hand pushing on her ribs. It's not going to stop a rifle, Lucian warns her, but it'll give you a shot. And listen, you are not going in there alone. What are you planning? Something incredibly stupid. He cups her face with his hands, a move that's all about ownership, but looks like affection. I need you to believe 100% that I will not let him hurt you. Can you do that? Elena stares into those gray eyes and sees he means it. This wasn't some storybook love. It was something else, something primal and possessive, and it was all pointed right at her. Yes, she whispers. He leans in, their foreheads touching. Go to the ballroom and stall. Argue about the deal, make up new demands, do whatever you have to buy time when you hear the signal. What signal? You'll know. The second it happens, you drop. Don't think, don't hesitate. Just get to the floor and cover your head. Lucian, promise me. I promise. He pulls away, and that little bubble of connection pops. The vulnerable guy is gone, replaced by the ice-cold commander who's already turning away. Marco, get the team set. I want rifles on every angle, and I want them to be ghosts. Romano's crew is good, but nobody's perfect. They'll have a blind spot. Marco's grin is pure wolf. What do you need me to miss? Everything. 20 minutes later, Elena's standing at the ballroom doors, hands steady, breathing even. The vest is a solid dead weight, a constant reminder of the chaos she's walking into. The doors swing open. Inside looks like a war zone. Splintered tables, a carpet of broken glass, and the fancy walls are chewed up with bullet holes. And right in the middle of the mess is Adrian, with a gun jammed to her father's head. Dominic Varelli looks wrecked, like he's aged 10 years. A little trail of blood runs from a cut above his eye. His hands are tied, but his eyes, locked on Elena, are burning with helpless rage. "Elena, don't you dare set foot in here!" he yells. "Shut up!" Adrian barks, his eyes glued to her. "I knew you'd show!" Elena walks forward, her heels crunching on glass, the sound echoing in the trashed room. "Let him go, Adrian." "Not just yet. First, you and I are going to have a little chat." "We have nothing to talk about." "Oh, we have everything to talk about." He waves the gun around, and her dad flinches. "You really think you could just throw me away after everything?" "I already did." "Because of him." Adrian's face twists up, absolutely dripping with hate. "Lucian Varelli, the perfect, untouchable prince. You think for 1 second he gives a damn about you, that he'd pick you over his precious family? This isn't about Lucian." "Everything's about Lucian." Adrian's voice cracks, climbing into a crazy, hysterical shriek. "I was trying to save you from all this. I gave you an escape. But you chose to stay in this golden cage, chasing after a guy who thinks you're his property." "He does not." "He does. They all do. You're just another chess piece to them, another asset they can use. But I saw you, the real you, someone who should have been free." Elena takes another slow, careful step. "If you ever really saw me, you'd know I don't need saving." "Then what do you need?" "The right to make my own choices," she says, her voice rock solid. "The right to be wrong. The right to set my own life on fire if that's what I want." Adrian just stares, this long, empty moment stretching out between them. Then he lowers the gun from her father's head and points it straight at her chest. Wrong answer. And then it all happens in a flash. A high, sharp whistle slices the air. Elena drops. It's pure reflex. Her body hits the deck before her brain even registers it. Gunfire explodes from 3 hidden spots. Adrian's guys just fold. Her father gets dragged hard behind a flipped table. Elena stays flat, her cheek pressed against the cold, glassy marble, while bullets sing over her head. Then hands grab her, rough, panicked, yanking her backward. She twists, looks up, and sees Adrian's face. Twisted in pure animal rage, he got to her first. "You lying bitch!" he snarls, dragging her toward a side door. "You set me up!" She smashes an elbow back into his gut. He grunts, but his grip is like steel, and the barrel of his gun is now jammed against her temple. "Let her go, Adrian." Lucian's voice, colder than a morgue. Adrian spins, yanking Elena around to use her as a shield. "No chance, she's mine." "She was never yours to begin with." "And she's yours, is that it?" The great Lucian Varelli admitting he actually wants something for himself. "I'm admitting I'm going to kill you if you don't get your hands off her in the next 3 seconds." Tough talk from a guy who's outgunned. "Take a look around, Adrian. Your guys are dead. Romano's crew is gone. You are completely, totally alone. Elena could feel his heart hammering against her back like a trapped bird. She could feel a gun shaking in his hand. Panic. It was rolling off him, and that made him 10 times more dangerous. You know what? Adrian's voice suddenly goes flat, dead. If I can't have her, then no one can. His finger tightens on the trigger. There's no time to think. Elena moves, a violent twist she's practiced 100 times in secret. For a split second, Adrian's grip loosens. The gun fires. A blinding white-hot flash explodes in her shoulder. She's going down, the world turning into a gray smear. The ringing in her ears is insane, but she hears more shots. She hears Adrian scream, a sound that gets cut off real quick. She hears Lucian yelling her name. Then there are hands on her, gentle this time, cupping her face. Elena, look at me. She forces her eyes open. Lucian's face is right there, inches away. He's pale, with this raw, deep terror in his eyes she's never seen on him before. Vest, she chokes out, the word ripping out of her. The vest. It hit high, your shoulder. Can you move? She tries. A tremor shakes Elena's entire body, a nasty electric shock from the hit, but some part of her is still fighting to stay conscious. Yes. Good. That's good. Stay with me, okay? Just stay with me. She feels this desperate pull to hang on, a war raging inside her own head. But the darkness is calling, this sweet, empty void that promises to kill the pain, and it's starting to win. The absolute last thing she sees is his face, Lucian's. The last thing she hears is his voice, torn apart by an agony that matches hers, saying her name over and over like it's the only prayer he's got. When she finally wakes up, it's to a world of sterile white and the burning smell of antiseptic. Just trying to move sends a white-hot spike of pain through her shoulder, making her gasp. Don't move! She turns her head, super slow, and there he is. Lucian looks like he's been through his own war, the all-night vigil carved right into his face. Model. He's a total wreck, clothes wrinkled, hair a mess, and dark circles so deep they look like he's been in a fight. How long? She croaks out, her throat feeling like sandpaper. 18 hours. The bullet missed everything important, but you bled. A lot. He locks eyes with her, basically trying to keep her conscious with his stare alone. You scared the absolute hell out of me. Her first thought is her dad, her rock. Shaken but fine. He's already been here 3 times. So has Marco. Adrian. Lucien's face goes completely blank, a switch flipping to ice cold. Dead. Tried to take a second shot while you were down. I didn't give him the chance. The news just lands. No guilt, no sadness, just this massive, quiet wave of relief that the psycho is finally gone. And Romano? He's being dealt with. Turns out a few other families weren't fans of his little power trip. He won't be a problem anymore. The family's intact. Banged up, but intact. We'll fix it. You can just see the weight of the entire world crushing his shoulders. You're blaming yourself. Damn right I am. I let you walk in there. I should have. Her voice slices right through his self-pity, sharp as a razor. You should have what? Locked me away? Treated me like some kid? Her good arm shoots out and grabs his wrist, this one tiny anchor in all the chaos. You trusted me to make my own call. That's the only damn thing I've ever wanted from you. He clutches her hand like he's drowning. Your call almost got you killed. My call saved Dad, it saved the family, and it proved what I've been trying to tell you for years. And what's that? That I'm a hell of a lot stronger than you think. He just stares at their hands like it's the only thing keeping him grounded. I know you are. I've always known. And that's what terrifies me. Why? Because strong people don't need me. A moment of silence. The muscle in his jaw is twitching. And I need to be needed. And there it is. The confession, so raw it practically bleeds, and it unlocks everything for Elena. Lucienne, you were right. I've been keeping you at a distance, handling you like you were made of glass. Because if I didn't... He finally looks up, and all the walls he built around himself just turned to dust. If I didn't, I'd have to admit what I've been running from for 5 years. And what's that? That I love you, that I've been in love with you since you hit 18 and called me an arrogant bastard for questioning your dress choice. That every single day since has been a special kind of torture, watching you, knowing you were the one thing I could never touch. The words just hang there, the dead air. Tears finally spill, running down Elena's face. You are such an idiot. He lets out this short, broken laugh. I know. All this time, I thought you didn't even see me, that I wasn't your type. I have never, not for 1 second, stopped seeing you or wanting you. I just kept telling myself it was wrong. And now? Now you're in a hospital bed with my bullet in your shoulder because I screwed up, because I let how I feel about you cloud my judgment. Or, she shoots back, her voice quiet but solid steel, I'm in this bed because I made a choice. Brave, maybe stupid, but it was mine, and I'd make it again. That statement, her claiming her own power, just hangs there between them. He just stares at her. You're impossible. I'm a Varelli. We don't do easy. She throws his own family's messed up legacy right back at him. A tiny smile plays on his lips, but his eyes are a hurricane of heat and danger, all pointed straight at her. No, you definitely don't. He closes the distance slowly, giving her every chance to back him down. She doesn't. The first brush of his lips is a question, hesitant, before it crashes into something desperate. A 5-year confession of denial and pure want. Elena kisses him back with every fiber of her being, the throbbing in her shoulder and the sterile room just fading to black. When they finally pull away, they're both gasping for air. I love you, she says, making it real. He presses his forehead against hers, a silent, desperate plea for her to say it again. And she does, over and over. I'm not going anywhere. I'm done running. I'm staying. She's not just claiming him. She's claiming her entire future, blowing the doors off the pretty cage she's been stuck in. I'm learning the business, taking my seat at the table, and I'm making my own damn calls. And you are going to let me. The alarm bells go off in his eyes, that's not. But she steamrolls him before he can even argue. Yes, it is. Because if you love me, you will trust me to be your partner, not your prize, standing right next to you. You can see the war on his face. The bodyguard program to protect her versus the man who just watched her save their entire world. He lets out a long, slow breath of surrender. This is gonna get messy. Everything good is messy, she replies. You could get hurt, so could you. That's the deal we're making. You're not backing down, are you? She asks, challenging him. Not a freaking chance. He just watches her for a solid minute, and then this smile breaks across his face, so rare and bright it's almost blinding. Okay. Okay. We do it your way, total partners, but I'm keeping my right to be a possessive, insane psycho when it comes to your safety. A negotiation. She gives him a nod. And I'm teaching you everything. He promises no more secrets, no more locked doors. You want in? You're all the way in. The promise is like the first breath of fresh air after being underwater. For real? For real? Then he adds, you might regret this. Our world, it's not pretty. I know, she says. I've seen it, lived in it, and I'm still standing. He leans in and kisses her again, this one softer, like a seal on her words. Yes. Yes, you are. Then the door cracks open and they jump apart like guilty kids. Her father, Dominic Varelli, is standing there, his face like granite. Dad, Elena starts. Lucien. The Don's voice is flat, dead. Give us the room. Lucien nods, his hand brushing hers one last time before he's gone. The click of the door is crazy loud. Dominic Varelli walks to the bed, every step a heavy thud on the floor. How are you feeling? Sore, she says, but alive, thanks to Lucien and a lot of other people, he shoots back, basically brushing off the credit. Her father sinks into the chair Lucien was just in. I owe you an apology. The words look like they physically hurt him. For what? For the engagement? For trying to map out your entire life without asking you? For using my own daughter like a pawn in my goddamn game? Under the crappy hospital lights, he looks ancient and completely shattered. I thought I was protecting you, keeping you from getting burned. Instead, I just shoved you right into the inferno. You did what you thought you had to, but that doesn't make it right. His fingers barely touch hers like a ghost. Your mother would kill me for this. She always said you had her fire, her strength. I should have listened. The mention of her dead mother is a straight-up gut punch. Tears well up in her eyes. I can hardly remember her. He says she was a supernova, brilliant, fearless, a woman who never let anyone tell her who to be. You're her echo. A sad little smile touches his lips, which honestly is completely terrifying. Dad, just let me. I've been blind. He cuts her off, blind to who you really are, what you can do. And his hand gestures to the empty space where Lucien just stood. Blind to what was happening right under my own goddamn roof. But I see it now. My eyes are open. And if this is what you want, if he is who you want, then I'm not standing in your way. And the business, the family will get in line. They always do. As for the business, all the warmth disappears from his face, replaced by pure, cold calculation. I think it's time we started training the next generation. For real. No more pretty cage. No more being kept in the dark. A flash of pure, impossible hope lights up her face. Are you serious? I am. We start tomorrow. After you heal, you'll learn everything. The accounts, the networks, the operations, the whole bloody show. And Lucian. The Don's voice drops, becoming low and dangerous. Pure iron. If he ever breaks your heart, I will kill him myself. Dad, I mean it. I don't care if he's basically family. I don't care if he's the heir. You are my daughter. You come first. Always. That raw, possessive protection is a literal ache in her chest. I know, and I love you for it. But you don't have to worry about that. Lucien would die before he'd let anything happen to me. Let's pray that never gets tested. He stands, kisses her forehead. and after telling her to rest, he's gone. Alone again. Elena is left with the ringing chaos of the last 24 hours. The room feels like a vacuum. The only sounds the beeping machines and the city's hum. Her eyes lock on the skyline, trying to figure out the new violent path her life just took. So the plan was simple. Get the hell out. Escape the Varelli crime family for good. But in a wild twist of fate, her escape route didn't lead out. It dumped her right in the damn throne room. And that's where she got her prize. Not freedom, but a partner ready to rule the darkness with her. A dude who looked at her savage side and didn't see a problem to fix, but a feature to worship. He was so all in, he'd let her become her truest self, even if that meant diving deeper into the fire. The door cracks open. It's Lucien, holding 2 cups of trash-tier hospital coffee. "So, your father's blessing?" he asks. She scoffs. More like a death threat with a permission slip. He hands her a cup. "But I'll take it." "So what's the play? Now?" he says, leaning back, locking eyes with her. "Now we rebuild." And now the cleanup. The Romano problem has been deleted, and it's time to patch up alliances. The mission? Make the Varelli family look like an unbreakable fortress. Our main characters, Lucian and Elena, are basically fused together by trauma now. You notice how he keeps saying, "we"? Yeah, that's a new unit being born. Their whole game has changed. They're a team now, a huge switch from their old solo act tactics. Running away? Not even a thought anymore. We get a smile from Elena, the first sign she's finally lowering her guard. "I'm right where I'm supposed to be," she says, fully accepting her place in this messed up world. "Me too," he shoots back, proving they're on the exact same wavelength. Outside, the city's still a death trap. But in this sterile hospital room, they've built their own little fortress, showing all the signs of, what do you call it? Oh yeah, love. 3 days later, Elena is on the move. The hole in her shoulder is screaming, punching right through the meds. She hates the sling. It's like wearing a sign that says vulnerable. Bouncing from the hospital early wasn't just her being stubborn. Nope. It was her brain flipping the bird to the whole victim narrative. Lucian's right there, his hand planted on her knee, a quiet, constant reminder that he's got her back. It's his way of saying, "I own this. I protect this." He tells her they should push the meeting, trying to save her from the pain. Her no is instant and cold. It's a pure calculation. In their world, how people see you is everything. A delay, she says, would create a vacuum where their enemies' BS stories could take hold and become fact. He goes quiet. That's his yes. These two get the brutal rules of their world. Public image is the only thing that buys you power. The attack on their engagement party blew a hole in the city's entire criminal network, leaving bodies across 3 families and a whole lot of wreckage. Unmasking the Cole Romano scheme showed everyone that their own foundations had cracks. So now the Varelli name needs a show, a big public display of "we're fine, we're strong, don't test us." And Elena showing up to this meeting, busted but not broken, is the main event. The car rolls to a stop in front of some grimy building in an industrial park. No signs, barred windows. This is the kind of anonymous spot you pick when power players need to meet without anyone watching. Marco, one of their lieutenants, is waiting with 4 gunmen, and you can practically smell the panic coming off him. "They're all here," he says, his voice wound tight. "And nobody's happy." Lucian's reply is ice cold. "Happy people don't listen." See, scared men are easy to control. The inside is a total shocker. A crazy high-tech conference room hidden inside this urban dump. 8 family heads are sitting around the table like generals plotting a war. Elena knows most of them, the Castellanos, the Moretes, the Santos crew. But Romano's chair, it's empty. A loud, silent reminder of the new hole in the food chain. As they walk in, Dominic Varelli stands up. The old man's looking pretty good, all things considered. Suit's perfect, the cut on his face is already healing. But there's something harder in the way he stands, like he's finally settling into the throne. He introduces his daughter, Elena, and Lucian. And boom! A bomb goes off in the room, except it's completely silent. Every single pair of eyes snaps to Elena. She's not a person anymore. She's a problem, an asset. They're weighing her injuries, her power, her entire existence on a cold, bloody scale. Some guys look at her with pity, others with pure, greedy calculation. It's a new feeling for her. They're not checking her out like a woman. They're analyzing her like a variable in a kill or be killed equation. Carlo Moretti is the first one to open his mouth, trashing all protocol. He says her being there breaks their dumb, old school, boys-only rules. And this is family business, he barks. Dominic's reply is a verbal gunshot. She is family. Moretti tries another angle, trying to disqualify her because she's a woman and she's hurt. That's when Lucian's voice slices through the room, low and lethal, stopping Moretti dead in his tracks. Careful, Carlo, you finish that sentence and you and I will have a problem. Moretti's face flushes red, but he clamps his jaw shut. The other bosses just watch. A predator testing an electric fence. Elena gets the whole performance. She walks to a chair and sits down. The simple move, a middle finger to them all. A declaration that she belongs there, pain be damned. Lucian posts up behind her like a freaking sentinel. Then Dominic kicks off the meeting, talking about how a new line has been crossed. Santos, who's younger and way sharper than the rest, cuts in. Nearly, he says, letting the word just hang there. Nearly succeeding is still failing. Then he turns his eyes to Elena, and for the first time, she sees actual professional respect from her rival. Thanks to the actions of a very brave young woman. The compliment actually seems to throw her for a second. Castellano pushes back, dripping with skepticism. Was it brave, he asks, or was it just reckless? I wasn't unarmed, Elena says. Her voice is quiet, but it hits like a ton of bricks. The room freezes. Every man is locked on her. I had a vest. I had contingency plans. I knew exactly what I was walking into when I offered myself as bait. She stares Castellano down. Adrian Cole, she tells them, was having a complete mental breakdown. He was just a walking hurricane of emotions, totally unhinged from Romano's cold-blooded strategy. That made him an open book. And as she knew, open books are way easier to burn than guys who have their crap together. You played him, Santos states. It's not a question, it's a coronation. I used all of him, she replies, and the words taste like victory and poison. His massive ego, his sick obsession, his little fantasy that he was my savior. The confession just hangs there, a testament to her calculated cruelty. Moretti scoffs, disgusted by a woman using pure emotion as a weapon. Elena's voice cuts him off like a shard of glass. Remind me, who was the emotional one? Me, who walked into a fire with a plan? Or Adrian, who torched a perfect ambush because he got his feelings hurt? A dry chuckle rattles from Santos's corner. Dominic, feeling things get away from him, yanks the room back to business. He lays it out. Romano's huge play for the throne is a pile of smoking ashes, but the price, the bodies, the chaos, the shattered trust, is a bill they're all gonna have to pay. Castellano jumps on that word, trust. It's the ghost haunting the room. Romano's lie, a masterful act that he kept up for 2 freaking decades, has poisoned their entire world. Lucian delivers the final verdict. Romano had the patience of a monster waiting in the dark. He wore his loyalty mask until the perfect moment, a wedding that would have handed him the whole kingdom the second Dominic's heart gave out. And the Cole kid? Santos asks. A pawn, that's it. His creepy orbit around Elena and his knowledge of the family's weak spots made him the perfect disposable tool. A flicker of movement. Lucian's hand clenches on Elena's chair, the only sign of the earthquake happening under his calm exterior. Romano fed Cole just enough info to make him feel like a king, all while secretly building the kid's coffin. Cole was always supposed to take the fall. Except Cole didn't fall, Moretti points out, his eyes locked on Elena. Romano did, because of her. The words are sharp, but now they're edged with a new, bitter respect. Dominic forces their attention to the future, to the giant power vacuum. Romano's empire is a snake without a head. His son, the one meant for Elena, is 6 feet under. The whole territory is bleeding out, totally exposed. You could feel the vibe in the room switch up, instantly shifting from a funeral to a pack of wolves deciding who gets to eat first. This was the real meeting all along. It was never about mourning, it was about the feast. Castellano makes the first move. The East Docks. Romano had every shipping route locked down. Santos circles him, saying that's small time. The real prize is the political connections. Then Moretti throws a monkey wrench in. All this violence brought attention. Cops, politicians. He asked the question everyone's scared to voice. Are their puppets about to cut their strings? Lucian just brushes it off. They've been cashing Romano's checks for 10 years. They're not gonna turn on the guy signing them just 'cause he's got new bling. And that's it. The gauntlet is thrown. The Varley family is here to take over everything. Santos gets the message loud and clear. Lucian's reply is a stone-cold masterclass in saying one thing while meaning another, promising only to protect their turf while his eyes are promising a whole lot more. It's a crazy display of power simmering just under the surface. And Elena sees it all. She's watching this ancient, messed-up dance of threats and promises, a script these guys have memorized since they were kids. And her, the girl who was supposed to be a painting on a wall, is now sitting at the main table. Nope, not anymore. There's more, she says, and the whole room shuts up again. Romano wasn't working alone. He had a rat on the inside, someone feeding him security codes, guard schedules, our family's private calendar. Someone was whispering in his ear. Moretti immediately spits out Cole's name. Elena shoots him down. Cole could get to me, but not the business. He knew my dinner plans, sure, but the attack happened during a security swap only this family knew about. They used codes that get switched every single week. Adrian couldn't have given him that. You can see the shadow drop over Dominic's face. You're saying there's another traitor. Elena's voice is ice. I'm saying we're idiots if we think there isn't. The silence that hits the room is thick enough to choke on. Her theory that the rot is still inside their own house turns every man against the other. Every look is an accusation. "That is a hell of an accusation," Castellano mumbles, trying to put out the fire. "It's a hell of a situation," she snaps back, forcing them to look at the train wreck. She makes it crystal clear. This isn't some wild guess. This is the new normal, a state of play where you can't trust anyone. From his seat, Santos watches her like a predator, sizing up its prey. "You've really thought this through," he says, trying to figure her out. She tells him weeks of being stuck in bed gave her plenty of time to get obsessed. When they ask what else she's got, her eyes lock with Lucian's, silently asking for permission to drop the next bomb. Lucian's nod is so small you could miss it. Maybe it's a go-ahead. Or maybe it's just the first move in a play he already wrote. Elena turns back to the table and completely nukes their entire understanding of what happened. She tells them Romano wasn't the cancer, he was just a symptom. What if this isn't the real problem? What if it's a sign of something much bigger? She describes a world where their old rules of loyalty are turning to dust. This decay, she warns them, creates a power vacuum, sucking in vultures like Romano on the inside and jackals like Adrian on the outside. Her last line is a prophecy: adapt or get wiped off the map. Moretti's scoff is the sound of a dude trying to deny the decay he feels in his own soul. "The old ways worked for 50 years, Moretti protests, clinging to a past that's already dead and buried. Elena's reply is a raw, bloody scar. "The old ways got my father snatched and a bullet put in me." This ain't a debate. It's her throwing his failure right in his face. She's not calling for a coup, she explains, but for an upgrade. Time to ditch the empty promises of loyalty for the cold, hard facts of tech and procedure. Santos puts her right on the spot, his voice like a knife. "You!" That one word jacks the danger level up to 11. Behind her, you can almost see Lucian's back muscles turn to steel. Elena's denial is fast and tactical, putting her father and Lucian next in line while painting herself as just a new kind of weapon. Castellano's sneer, "If we let you," is his last sad attempt to keep her in a cage. Elena looks right past the bars. "You can write me off, or you can see what I just did." She goes around the room, locking eyes with each of them, a silent challenge that freezes them in their seats. The silence that follows is heavy, full of old men having to rethink their entire world. You can feel Lucian holding himself back, fighting the urge to shield her, knowing he can't show his hand. And then laughter shatters the tension. It's Santos, a deep, real laugh. It changes the entire game. "Now I like her," he says, and the very foundation of their mob world starts to crack. He breaks it down for all of them. "She's got guts, and she's right." He sees the rot she was talking about, how their getting comfortable has made them weak. "This is insane!" Moretti sputters, the last gasp of a dead era. Santos hits his panic with brutal facts, framing it as a choice between changing and dying. He suggests they let her in, give her a trial run, her job depending on whether she delivers. Castellano wants to know the price. Proof. It's Lucian who answers, his voice perfectly calm as he lays out the test. Elena finds Romano's contact. And she's in. A brilliant, twisted move. He just hijacked her rebellion and turned it into his own little trial, a mission where she still answers to him. The only sound she makes is a sharp gasp. You can practically see her swallow fire, choking back a scream so she can stay in the game. Dominic lays out the deal. 1 month. Win, and you get a seat at the big boys' table. Lose, and you get silence you don't come back from. I won't fail, she says, a promise that sounds more like a prayer against the sheer terror she has to be feeling. The vote passes, but you can see the new cracks forming in the family. For the rest of the meeting, her mission is simple. Look valuable, but don't ever look like a threat. Elena chimes in when she can, her points all sharp, logical, and useful. She needs them to see her as a tool, not a new boss. By the time it's over, the stress is showing, her hands trembling a little as the meds wear off, and the pain comes roaring back. Lucian's the one who sees it. Lucian's the one who ends it. Elena needs to rest. He gets up and leads her out of there, his hand on her back, both a shield and a warning, daring anyone to say a word. No one does. In the dark quiet of the car, she finally lets her guard down, collapsing against the seat. Her take on her own so-called victory is a raw, frustrated whisper. That was stupid. Lucian plays dumb. Which part? He knows she means the mole hunt he just dumped on her. His answer isn't reassuring, it's a cold, hard fact. You won't. He closes the gap between them, his touch just the beginning of a total mind game. He starts by praising her, building a connection. You're the smartest person in that room. Then comes the real message, the one about who's in charge. You wanted in the game, and I got you in, but I'm the one who designed this impossible maze. His icy vibe gives zero comfort. You wanted a seat at the table. This is the cover charge. He just chucked her into the ocean with no life vest and told her to swim. She's so spun out she can't even think of what to say back. I thought I'd have more time to get ready, she says, basically begging for a little slack. Lucian just dismisses it, twisting her entire life into some secret training program, making her feel like an idiot for being freaked out. Then he offers a fake lifeline. I'll help you. Marco will help you. Even your father will help you. It's a phantom safety net designed to make him the center of her world. And then the twist. The credit has to be yours. This isn't for her benefit. If he pulls all the strings and she wins, she's just his puppet. But if she wins on her own, with his guidance, of course, she becomes way more useful. A real weapon he can aim. A sick smile spreads across his face. Then you become dangerous. He moves her to the main family estate for security, which is code for taking away her freedom and locking her in his own personal cage. Inside the mansion, they're scrubbing bloodstains off the floor. A perfect metaphor for how they're trying to forget what happened. Elena, on the other hand, is reliving the whole thing. The sights, the sounds, it's all on a loop in her head. Classic trauma response. Dominic asks about the meeting, and Lucian gets straight to it. She has 1 month to find Romano's mole. You can see the anger flash in Dominic's face. That wasn't the plan. Lucian just shrugs, putting all the heat on Elena. Plans change. She agreed to it. Right when the two are about to go head-to-head, a brewing power struggle, Elena jumps in, taking back her own story. I always have a choice, and I made mine. It's a critical lie she tells herself, the first brick in the trauma bond that's already being built. I'm going to find the leak, prove myself, and earn my place. End of discussion. The two men used to running the show just stare at her. their power snatched away in 2 seconds. Her father's smile is a weird, awful mix of pride and terror, and he falls back on the same old line. You really are your mother's daughter. Elena, about to suffocate from the pressure in the room, just runs. She ends up in her childhood bedroom, a museum for a life that's over, and completely falls apart. The physical pain has nothing on the insane weight of what she just signed up for. 30 days to find a ghost buried deep inside their organization. An impossible job. And that's the whole point. I knock at the door. It's Lucian, playing the role of concerned caretaker, holding a bowl of soup. This is a classic power move. Offer comfort, build dependence. You need to eat. She says no, but he flashes a doctor's order, admitting with a slick smirk that he financially encouraged the medical advice. That dark humor is a hook designed to lower her defenses. And it works. She smiles, a perfect symptom of Stockholm Syndrome, finding something to like about her own captor. He sits right on her bed, totally invading her space to make it intimate. Talk to me. He's probing for weakness. Tell me why you're glaring at the ceiling like it personally offended you. And she hands it right over. I'm in over my head. Welcome to the family business. He deadpans, making her freak out sound totally normal, even expected. He then spins her whole ordeal, saying her trial by fire was way better than how most people get broken in over years. Her comeback is sharp, and it's true. Because you threw me in there. He doesn't even blink, twisting it right back at her. Because you jumped. He just made her the author of her own screwed-up situation, the one who made the choice. His face hardens. Do you regret it? This question is the whole game, forcing her to double down on this sick relationship, to actively choose the cage he's locked her in. No, she says after a beat. I don't regret it. I'm just scared. Admitting fear but zero regrets. That's the perfect sweet spot for a girl in her position. Lucian just reinforces the messed up logic of their world. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Bro is literally programming her to live in constant anxiety, telling her it's a feature, not a bug. Get some rest, he commands, but stops when she says his name. She thanks him for believing in her, cinching the knot of their twisted bond even tighter. For just a second, his stone-cold mask slips. I've always believed in you, Elena. I just needed you to believe in yourself. Then he bails, leaving her with the impossible task. She starts eating the soup. The conditioning is already working. Elena kicks off a basic threat assessment. The list of possible traitors is long, a real who's who of the organization's top brass. Marco, senior security guys, her dad's inner circle. The fact that they're all still breathing means the rat is either not on this list or is terrifyingly good at covering their tracks. She opens a device and starts building a profile, cross-referencing personnel files with security access and timelines. The attack needed someone who knew their routines, their schedules, the literal blueprints of the buildings, which narrows it down, but not by much. She keeps grinding until her body just quits. Eyes blurring and muscles screaming, she pops her pills, sets an alarm, and tries to sleep. But the nightmares are waiting. The images flash in her mind, over and over. The attacker's face, Adrienne, twisted with pure rage, aiming right for her father. She relives the gunshot, sees the look of total devastation on Lucian's face. She jolts awake, gasping for air and soaked in sweat. It's 3 a.m. She's been asleep for, 2 hours? The bed feels hostile, so she gets up and just starts walking. Throwing on a robe, she moves through the dark, silent house. No staff. The security shift changes at 4, making this the quietest part of the night. She wanders, no destination in mind, until she finds herself outside her father's study. The door is cracked open. A slice of light cuts through the darkness, which is wrong. He's never up this late. Elena pushes the door open. Her father, Dominic, is at his desk, drowning in a sea of paperwork. He looks up instantly, his face a perfect mask of professional concern. "Can't sleep?" he asks. "Bad dreams," she replies, keeping it brief. He gestures at the files. "Romano and I started this together," he says, switching gears hard. "Did you know that? 30 years ago, we were just 2 kids trying to make a reputation for ourselves." Elena sinks into the chair across from him. "What happened?" "Life," he says. "Choices." He started caring more about power than loyalty. "I wanted to build something to last." He slides a photo across the desk. 2 young men, him and Romano, smiling, happy. "I should have seen it. All the signs were there." "You can't blame yourself for trusting someone." "Can't I? I'm responsible for every single person in this organization." "My job is to protect everyone, and I failed catastrophically." He puts the picture back. "Your mother would have seen it. She could always see right through people's acts." The air in the room gets thick. "Tell me about her," Alana asks, her voice barely a whisper. "You never talk about her." A long, heavy silence hangs in the air. When Dominic finally speaks, his voice is choked with pain. "She was fire and ice, brilliant, ruthless when she needed to be, and absolutely fearless. She could walk into a room full of killers and own it in minutes." A faint smile touches his lips. "Sound familiar?" "Yes, you're just like her, and honestly, it terrifies me." "Why?" The answer is a punch straight to the gut. "Because she died for the exact same reasons you're doing this, to prove herself by taking insane risks and refusing to let anyone protect her." "She was running an intelligence op against a rival family," he says, the words fighting to get out. "Information gathering. I told her the risk was too great, that she had to wait. She went in anyway." Elena feels a crushing weight in her chest. The story they fed her was a car accident. She never knew the truth. "What happened to her?" "They found her. They wired her car with a bomb. She and your father, your birth father, died instantly." His eyes break away from hers. He just can't hold her gaze. "I took you in because she was my sister, and letting you disappear into the system would have been like losing her all over again." And there it is, the final brutal piece of the puzzle that explains everything. "You've been trying to protect me," she whispers, the realization a cold dread, "because you couldn't protect her." "Yes, Dad, I know. I know my actions have been an unfair burden, and I see now that I've held you back. But watching you walk into that ballroom, knowing you could be killed." His voice cracks, a fissure in his rock-solid authority. "It was like watching her die a second time." Elena gets up, moves around the massive desk that has always separated them, and rests her good arm on his shoulder. He reaches up, pulling her into a hug, and for the first time in her life, she feels the unshakable leader of their family tremble. "I'm sorry," he says, the words muffled. "For all of it. For the guy he tried to force on her, for the cage he built, for never seeing the woman she'd become. You were just trying to protect yourself from your own ghost. It was the wrong way." "Maybe," she admits. "But I'm still here. and I'm not backing down. They just stand there for a moment, a father and daughter finding a fragile peace in the middle of all the chaos. When she pulls away, he looks 10 years older, but also lighter. This thing that's happening with Lucian, he begins, his tone careful. Are you sure? I am. He's not a simple man to care for. I know, she says, her voice steady. But I don't need simple. I need real. Dominic studies her face, then gives a slow, tired nod. Your mother said the same thing about your father. She chose him knowing exactly the life he led, and she never regretted it, not even at the end. He takes a ragged breath. She died on a mission, fighting for what she believed in, with the man she loved. There are worse ways to leave this world. That logic doesn't quite sit right with Elena, but she understands the emotion behind it. In that moment, her purpose becomes razor sharp. I'm going to find Romano's mole, she says, not to prove anything, but because it's the right thing to do. For you, for our family, for everyone we lost. I know you will. A faint smile touches his lips. Just try to avoid getting shot again. My heart isn't built for this. I'll do my best. And with that, she leaves him to his ghosts and his paperwork, feeling more centered than she has in days. Yes, the mountain ahead was massive, but she wasn't climbing it alone anymore. Back on her floor, she finds Lucian waiting in the hall. Couldn't sleep either, she asks. Sleep isn't a luxury my line of work affords, he replies. Comes with territory. His eyes sweep over her, a clinical assessment. Are you all right? Getting there, my father and I, we finally talked about my mother, about regret, about a lot of things. She touches the lock to her door. Will you come in? He hesitates for a split second. Elena, I'm not trying to get into your bed. I'm asking you to be here while I go over the intel. That's a completely different thing. After a silent beat, he follows her into the room. Elena immediately spreads her notes and laptop across the bed, turning the soft space into a war room. Lucian pulls up a chair and just watches. Talk me through it, he says. Sometimes saying things out loud makes the pieces fit. Romano needed high-level intel on our security. Guard schedules, access codes, blueprints, everything. That information only exists in 3 places. The main security office, your personal files, and my father's private records. Marco runs security. I have my files, and my father's are behind a biometric lock. That means the mole is either Marco, you, my father, or someone who got to one of you. Marco. He's been with us for 15 years. I'd trust him with my life, no question. My father? Obviously not a suspect, which leaves you. Elena just stares him down. Before you flip out, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm saying my math is wrong. Lucian just kicks back, gears turning. What if they never pulled the file? What if the mole didn't have to? What if they just had access to people, bugs, cams? Someone who could just sit back and listen. And then, the ice-cold realization hits Elena's face. The IT guys, they set up and run all our tech, every camera, every server, and Romano just had to pay for a full network upgrade, called it a peace offering. We let his crew install the whole damn thing. When? 6 months ago. 6 months. The timeline clicks into place, and it's absolutely sickening. That's the exact moment his niece, Adrienne, started worming her way into Elena's circle. the cherry on top of Romano's twisted, narcissistic masterpiece. We have to rip apart every single piece of gear his team even breathed on, Elena says, her voice dangerously low. Cameras, servers, comms, all of it. That's gonna take a minute, and if the mole hears, we're coming for them. Then we send them on a wild goose chase, make them think we're barking up the wrong tree. Elena starts hammering at her keyboard, pulling up the family's entire org chart. We'll announce a full security review, total standard procedure after a hit, but we'll make a huge show of checking personnel files and physical security. The obvious stuff. While they're watching the front door, we'll be gutting their entire spy network from the inside out. Solid plan, but who's gonna run the tech side? We need someone we can trust. What about that consultant you brought in last year, the guy who locked down the warehouse network? Lucian's face is a stone mask, but his eyes get sharp. Chen. He's good, he's quiet, and the only thing he cares about is getting paid. Perfect! An outsider is exactly what we need. Somebody with no history, no baggage, no friends in the family. Elena locks eyes with him. Do you trust him as much as I trust anybody? Then call him tomorrow. Tell him it's a code red and we're doubling his rate. Triple. Chen doesn't get out of bed for a rush job for less than triple. Fine. Pay him whatever he wants. Elena snaps the laptop shut, and the little click echoes in the dead quiet room. The pain in her shoulder, which had been a dull throb, starts screaming again as the meds wear off. We've got a plan. It's a start. Lucian gets up, walking over to her bedside. Take your pills. Yeah, I know. I'm not messing around, Elena. You're useless to us if you can't even move without wincing. She chugs the pills with some water, and Lucian watches her like a hawk until she's done. He turns to leave. Stay, Elena says. The word just falls out of her mouth, a reflex born from shock and exhaustion. He freezes, his back still to her. Elena, I'm not asking for anything, I sleep better when you're in the room. A little heat creeps up her neck. Is that weakness? No. He turns around, his expression impossible to read. It's honesty. He kicks off his shoes and lies down on top of the covers, leaving a very careful, very deliberate space between them. Elena shifts onto her good side to look at him. Tell me something, she whispers. It's a desperate plea for something real, for a glimpse of the man behind the monster. A long, heavy silence fills the room before he finally speaks. And then he drops the bomb, a calculated piece of his messed up soul. I have nightmares about the people I've had to kill. This isn't just him opening up. It's a master key, custom made to unlock her pity and chain them together in the dark. He frames his work as a grim duty, calling regret a luxury, the go-to excuse for every man who lives and dies by violence. Elena feels her heart literally clench, a physical gut punch from his perfectly crafted poison, but it doesn't make the faces go away, he adds, twisting the knife just one last time. She apologizes instantly. It's a reflex, a sign that his pain is now her problem. He moves a little, framing his entire bloody career as some horrible burden he chose to carry, painting himself as the tragic hero. Then he pins his whole existential crisis directly on her. But then you showed up. He just dropped the weight of his salvation right onto her shoulders. It's a genius move on a woman who's already looking for any reason to believe he's a good man. He talks about wanting a different life, a real one. But, and here's the catch, only if she can accept the monster he is. The final brutal loyalty test. Her fingers slide between his. A silent surrender. She's not running anymore. His confession, "That's what scares me," is a perfectly engineered contradiction, a show of vulnerability that just screams of his own deep, manipulative darkness. They just lie there in the quiet, wrapped up in a fragile fantasy of being normal. Sleep finally takes her, a knockout punch from painkillers and pure emotional exhaustion. The last thing she feels is his thumb tracing circles on her skin, a mark of ownership, and his whispered promise. "I won't let anything happen to you." A promise of protection that sounds an awful lot like a cage. A tiny spark of resistance dies in her mind, swallowed by the easy darkness of giving in. 2 days later, a new player hits the board, an operator named Chen, a ghost who specializes in seeing things unseen, whose most powerful weapon is his utterly forgettable face. He rolls in with 3 aluminum briefcases and an attitude that skips right past the small talk, the clear sign of a guy who's survived some brutal corporate warfare. The meeting is in a conference room. Lucian and Marco are waiting. Her body is still on the mend, a constant low-grade ache, a little souvenir from her recent trauma. Chen sizes her up instantly, not by name, but by her role in the chaos. The one who took a bullet, Yelena's own response, a little of both, brave and stupid, shows she's got no illusions about her own recklessness. Chen's reply is short. All business. Triple rate buys a lot of speed. He's a contractor, not a hero. He pops the cases, revealing a whole arsenal of high-tech electronics. Chen cuts right through the BS, his voice totally flat. "Lucian says you think you're bugged." The look in his eyes says it all. He's 90% sure they are. Then comes the bombshell. A complete system overhaul 6 months ago, installed by Romano's crew, a date that lines up perfectly with when their secrets started leaking. When he calls their security absolute garbage, it's not an insult. It's a clinical diagnosis. "We trusted him," Marco says. A pathetic defense that gets obliterated by the #1 rule of their world. Never trust anyone in this business. He slaps a device on the table, its metal casing cold and final. It's a tool for a deep electronic sweep, and he needs full access, all under the cover of a routine network check. Elena backs up the cover story, just a check on structural integrity, her voice barely hiding the lie. Chen gives them a timeline, and the words just hang there like a death sentence. Days, maybe a week. Then he lays out the impossible choice they'll have to make. "Do you pull the bugs and let them know you're onto them?" he asks. "Or do you leave them in place and start feeding them lies?" It's the classic dilemma when you're playing in the shadows. A look passes between them, a shared flash of horror as they realize they hadn't even thought about the next move. When they ask what he would do, he just turns it right back on them, his stare sharp enough to cut. The choice comes down to one thing. What are they willing to lose? You want to find the mole? You let the infection spread. You want to secure your house? You burn the whole thing to the ground. The options couldn't be more brutal. Without even a second's pause, Elena's voice slices through the room, hard as diamond. "We need the mole." In that one instant, she's fully initiated into their world of backstabbing and paranoia. The family's safety now means more than her own. "Your funeral," Chen says, the words totally devoid of sympathy. Just a flat acknowledgement of the bloody path she just chose. He needs someone to walk him through the sweep, a ghost who can move through any room without raising suspicion. He writes off Marco as too obvious a presence, and his eyes land on Elena, who's practically part of the building's furniture. Her position gives her a master key, letting her drift through any door unheard. She's the perfect cover for his work. Lucian's protest is a raw, possessive growl. "Absolutely not." But Elena shoots him down with cold, sharp logic, the strategist finally breaking out of her shell. She gets it. The risk isn't about who walks with the hunter, it's about the hunt itself. By being at his side, she can manage the narrative. She's in. Chen's only instruction is a simple, impossible order: act like nothing is wrong. 2 hours later, a quiet, steady chirp from his scanner confirms their worst nightmare. They've got ghosts in the walls. They start in the main conference room, a place they used to think was a safe zone. It only takes 20 minutes to turn that sanctuary into a crime scene. Chen finds 3 of them, 3 tiny black spiders hiding in the shadows. "Sophisticated," he mutters, his voice all business. "This isn't cheap crap from a spy shop." A pro is watching them. When she asks if he can trace the signal, he lays it out. There's a local receiver, a little electronic heart that, if they find it, will lead them straight to the traitor's face. They leave the bugs right where they are, just like they planned. And then the horrifying truth crashes down on them. The security meeting from 2 days ago, where they laid out their entire freaking strategy, was basically broadcast live to the enemy. And boom, the penny drops for Elena like a gut punch. The enemy doesn't just know they're being hunted, they know the hunter's exact route. The clock isn't ticking anymore, it's screaming. The target is either gonna bolt or turn around and fight. Chen, meanwhile, is all business, just methodically doing his thing. His advice is basically from a manual called How to Act When You're Already Screwed. Keep your routine, look chill, and don't say anything important where the walls can listen. The rest of the day is just a slow-motion train wreck as the scanner confirms the infection has hit every single vital part of their operation. Then they find a micro camera, a tiny little eye staring at the hall outside Elena's bedroom, and it feels like a total violation. Her private world cracked wide open. Chen points out it was placed outside, which helps exactly 0. Her mind is just flashing through every private chat, every quiet moment in that hallway, all of it now enemy intel. By night, the breach map shows a seriously deliberate pattern. The bugs aren't just scattered, they're packed around the command centers. From a dark closet, Chen's voice confirms the worst part of it. Someone knew exactly what they wanted to hear. This wasn't some random dragnet. This was a goddamn surgical strike. 23 devices and counting. The digital map is just glowing with angry red dots all over their offices, meeting rooms, and even the security hub. The goal was obvious: to see the future, to know their every move before they even made it. Even the batteries tell a story. They last 6 to 8 months, confirming this nightmare has been going on for a long, long time. But the one thing they can't solve is the phantom they're chasing, the location of the main receiver. The signal's got a half-mile radius, a ghost hiding somewhere in dozens of buildings and thousands of people, making a physical search a total joke. Chen's hunched over his gear, trying to read tiny signal variations like some high-tech psychic. But his focus gets shattered when Lucian bursts in. You can see the crisis written all over his face. He brings a frantic energy into the room. His words, "We have a problem," are the calm before a massive storm. The surveillance game just got violent. Someone tried to take out Chen's assistant. The rules have changed. Case file 7B. It started with pure, calculated violence. A car literally forced off the road on its way to meet them. Lucien saw it for what it was, his voice dead serious. Whoever's listening knows what we're doing, and they're done being subtle. The hospital waiting room, smelling of antiseptic and pure dread, became the new stage for this drama. The target, David Chen, was alive but banged up, concussion, fractured ribs. He was lucid enough to spill the details from his hospital bed, though. Black SUV, he coughed out. Total pro job, came up at a red light, just shoved me into the intersection. I swerved, hit a pole. They didn't even slow down. He never saw the driver. Windows were tinted, but I got a partial plate. He gasps out 3 numbers and a letter like a last-ditch prayer. Marco's already typing furiously into his phone, hunting the ghost. Elena looks at David, seeing the fear behind his tough guy act, the slight tremor in his hands. She asks who knew. Just Chen and whoever you told. The circle of trust shrinks until only Lucien and Marco are inside it with them. 2 awful possibilities pop into Elena's head. The traitor is someone they'd never suspect, or the enemy is so all-knowing that any tiny change in their routine triggers a kill order. The older Chen begs them to walk away. This job isn't worth your life, but David just scoffs. The hell it's not! You're paying triple. I'm not getting run off by some corporate thug. I'm a New Yorker. We don't run from traffic. Elena throws in some gallows humor. You sure? I'm sure. Get me a laptop and a bottle of painkillers. I can work from here. Just then, Marco's phone goes off. He steps away, and when he comes back, his jaw is clenched tight. Plates are a shell company. Northside Logistics. Wanna guess the parent company? Romano. Lucien says the name like it's a curse. Romano's son, actually. Michael, the one who dropped off the map after his old man fell. For Elena, hearing that name is like a drop of ice hitting her heart. He's still in the city, and he wants to finish what his father started. Marco shows them a photo. Michael Romano, 30 years old, with the exact same dead predator eyes as his father. He's been seen twice this week, both times near our properties, Marco says. Lucien figures this is the end of the line. He's cleaning house, Lucy, tying up loose ends before he disappears for good. Or before he makes his next play, Elena shoots back, her mind already racing. His father failed, but the whole machine is still running. The surveillance, the contact, all of it. If Michael's smart and he looks it, he'll use everything his father built to try again. The son trying to fix the father's legacy. A total mob tragedy in the making. Then we find him before he finds us. Lucien turns to Chen. How fast can you finish the sweep with David out? 2 days, maybe 3. You have 1. Then we go dark. Rip out every bug, change every code, assume everyone is watching. That will tell them we know. Chen points out the obvious. They already know. Lucien's voice is pure gravel. They tried to kill David. The time for being subtle is long gone. Chen just gives a single, sharp nod and leaves. In the dim hospital hallway, Elena stops Lucien. We need to talk about the plan. What about it? Finding the bugs is pointless if we can't find Michael. He's the disease. He knows everything his father knew, and the guy has absolutely nothing to lose. Her voice drops to a whisper. I think we need to bait him. Lucien's reaction is instant, like a wall slamming down between them. Absolutely not. Just hear me out. I don't need to hear you. I know precisely what you're about to say. Elena's voice was sharp enough to cut glass, and the answer is no. You have no idea what I was going to say. You were going to offer yourself up, again, as if getting shot once wasn't enough of a lesson for you. It worked, he fired back, a man clinging to his one successful Hail Mary. You were lucky. Adrian was a total wreck, an open wound. Michael Romano is not. He is patient, he is cold, and he just proved he will kill to protect what's his. A terrifying clarity settled over her, the logic of a hunted animal that started thinking like the hunter. He thinks I'm the last loose end, the girl who wrecked his father's world. If I give him a clear shot, he takes it, and I'm left to walk through whatever is left of my life knowing I let you. Lucien's voice was a low rasp, choked by everything he couldn't bring himself to say. No, we find another way. There is no other way. We're out of time, and he's a phantom. We either force him out into the light or live forever, waiting for his knife in the dark. Then we'll live looking over our shoulders. The moment hung in the air, a standoff between her desperate need to end it and his gut instinct to protect her, even if it meant a lifetime of paranoia. He saw her fear, but he couldn't let it be the thing that destroyed her. I'm doing this, she said, a quiet promise. With you or without you. You can either help me set this up right, or you can pray for me from the audience. That isn't fair. No, she breathed. But it's the truth. Her hand found his, a small anchor in the chaos. I know you're afraid, so am I, but we both know there are no other moves left on the board. He closed his eyes, finally surrendering. I hate that you're right. It happens, she whispered, a faint trace of her old smile appearing, more than you think. My way, then, a location we control, every exit covered, you wear a vest. Of course. And if anything feels wrong, one single thing, you walk away. No last-minute heroics, swear it. I swear. He rested his forehead against hers, a silent, desperate prayer against what was coming. If you get hurt, I won't. Then you will do what you have always done. You will endure. You will protect what is ours, she finished for him, pulling back to lock eyes with him, promising payback. And you will burn whoever is responsible to the ground. But it won't come to that, because we are going to plan this down to the last second, pull it off perfectly, and we are going to end him. Tonight. Tonight? Michael is running scared. Trying to kill David in broad daylight wasn't a power move. It was a panic attack. A desperate man makes mistakes. We will be his. Her analysis was scarily on point, a predator's read on her prey. Marco appeared in the doorway. My people are all over the city. Michael's a ghost. That's because he's waiting for his moment, Elena said. So we'll give him one, a place public enough to make him feel secure, but contained enough to be his cage. Where? Marco asked. Her eyes darted around, running a million scenarios a second, trying to pinpoint the one spot Michael would pick for his grand finale. The memorial service. The words just hung there in the confused air. What memorial service? Lucienne asked, talking to her slow like she'd lost her mind, but her voice was pure ice. The one we're announcing today for the attack victims at the 7th Street Church. I'm already set to give the eulogy. The bait was straight up diabolical. Michael would see his chance to hit her when she's most exposed in a church with a dozen escape routes. Almost too perfect. But she had the clincher. He'll think it's legit. We'll leak a bogus security plan in one of the rooms we know is bugged. Make it sound like we're totally panicking. The whole trap was built around his own massive ego. He'd hear their secret plans, think he'd outsmarted them, and walk right into his own takedown. Marco just gave a single sharp nod. Done. We can lock that church down tighter than a drum, a man on every single door. The second he's inside, the cage slams shut. Lucienne, always the cautious one, worried sick about her, played his part. What if he brings friends? Then we bring a bigger army, she shot back. No room for debate. But my money's on him coming alone. He wants to vanish after this, no witnesses. A full-blown gunfight on church steps? That's the kind of heat he can't handle. Lucienne dragged a hand through his hair, the classic move of a guy watching the love of his life walk into a buzzsaw. This is insane. This is our one shot, Elena said, and we're taking it. And just like that, the whole tragedy was set in motion. Marco gets on the phone, his voice a low grumble, spinning some story about a private service for the church staff. Miles away, Chen is putting on a Broadway performance of frantic whispers for the hidden mics. And Lucienne? He's in the shadows, deploying 24 armed guys with one simple order: bring Michael back alive, if possible. For Elena, the prep was all mental, hardening her soul. The bulletproof vest felt cold and heavy, both a shield and a curse. The tiny pistol Lucienne forced on her felt completely alien, tucked into her black silk dress. You remember how to use that thing? He asked, his eyes tracking the gun's outline under the fabric. Her reply was robotic, totally deadpan. Point, shoot. Just try not to hit any of my guys. I'll do my best. Elena? She finally looked up, meeting the hurricane in his eyes. I've been training for this for 6 months. I know the plan. I know, he admitted, the words killing him. Doesn't make it any easier to watch. Her fingers touched his jaw, feeling the tension balled up there. After tonight, it's over. We'll have Michael. The bugs will be gone. We can actually breathe again. And if it goes sideways? We improvise. It's what we do. She kissed him, quick and desperate. He mumbled against her lips. I know. That's what scares the hell out of me. The spot was an old cathedral, a stone tomb totally perfect for an ambush. One huge entrance, 2 side doors, and a choir loft for a bird's-eye view. Marco's guys blended right into the scenery, becoming statues and shadows just waiting, and there she was, the bait. A single dark silhouette in the middle of the massive, empty cathedral. The fake service wasn't for another hour, giving Michael plenty of quiet time to scout his target. She was completely exposed in a funeral black dress, the vest a secret she wore against her skin. The gun wasn't any comfort, not for the kind of hell that was about to break loose. Her voice a whisper into a hidden wire, sliced through the dead silence. Anything? From the balcony above, a voice answered, cold and detached. Lucienne, a helpless god watching the sacrifice. Stay sharp. The wait stretched on forever, every second feeling like an hour as she pretended to look over a script. She made a show of studying her notes, a performance for an audience of one, while her eyes scanned every inch of the massive cavern. Light bled through stained glass windows, painting the stone floor with broken colors, a beautiful distraction that made it tough to see clearly. Then the main doors groaned, a sound that made her heart stop. A figure stepped out of the light, a guy in a janitor's uniform carrying a toolbox. His whole vibe was casual, practiced, designed to be ignored. But she knew that outline. She'd stared at photos of him until his silhouette was burned into her brain. "Target acquired," she breathed out. "Main entrance, dressed as maintenance." Lucien's voice was in her ear instantly. "I see him. Hold." Michael strolled down the main aisle, slow and deliberate. His eyes darted everywhere, looking for the flaw in the setup, even as his own monstrous ego dragged him forward, closing the gap between them. Her heart was beating against her ribs like a war drum, pure primal fear. He got closer, 20 feet, 15, 10. "Miss Varelli." His voice was totally flat, like an oil slick on dark water. "Father Matthews sent me, said you had a problem with the sound system." A simple lie to get in close. "Did he?" Her hand started a slow, calculated drift toward the gun hidden at her side. "That's funny, he didn't say anything to me." "Maybe it slipped his mind, you know how he is." Michael put the toolbox on the floor. The sound of the latches snapping open was like 2 gunshots in the silence. "I'll just have a look." "I don't think so." And just like that, the illusion shattered. At her words, the ordinary janitor mask dissolved, showing the monster who couldn't stand being told no. "Excuse me?" She said it again, louder, her voice echoing off the stone. "I said, I don't think so, because you're not here for the microphones, and we both know it." Elena raises the pistol, keeping it low but letting the light glint off the steel. "Hello, Michael." For a split second, time freezes. Then he smiles, that same bone-chilling, empty smile his father had, the look of pure predator. "Clever girl, just like your father." His hand moves for the toolbox on the floor, but not clever enough. And then the world just explodes into violence. Michael has a gun. She dives behind the podium as the whole room erupts with the deafening crack of gunfire. Lucien's voice, all calm gone, is barking orders in her ear over the sound of boots storming in from all directions. Michael fires twice, both shots missing wildly. From behind cover, Elena returns fire, her training taking over, aiming for the chest again and again until the slide on her pistol locks back. Empty. Hands grab her, dragging her out of the chaos towards a side door. It's Marco, his face a total mask of efficiency. "Move! Move now!" Her voice is raw. "Did we get him?" "He's down. Don't know if he's dead or just wounded. Either way, you're out of here." They burst out into the blinding sunlight. A car's waiting, engine rumbling. She's thrown into the back, Marco jumping in right behind her. The car's already peeling out before the doors are even slammed shut. Her whole body is shaking. The violent crash after a massive adrenaline dump. "Is Lucien?" "He's fine. He's with Michael. We'll meet you at the safe house." The safe house is some boring apartment in a building the family owns. Inside, Elena paces like a caged tiger, desperate to burn off the terror while Marco is glued to his phone, digging for any info. A high-pitched ringing fills her ears, and every single muscle screams from the impact of her dive. 30 minutes feel like a lifetime before Lucien walks in. His shirt is stained with blood, not his, and the wave of relief that hits her is so strong it's physical. His face looks like it's carved from granite, set in an expression of cold fury. "Michael?" she asks. "Alive," he says, the word sharp. "Shoulder and a leg, he'll live to go to trial." Lucien walks over to her then, cupping her face, his eyes searching hers for any damage. "Are you hurt?" "No. Shaken, but I'm fine." "You shot him." It wasn't a question. "I shot at him. I don't know if I actually—" "You hit him!" He cut her off. "Shoulder shot was yours. Clean through, barely missed the artery." Then his mouth is on hers, a kiss that's more about punishment than passion. It was a brutal crash of relief and rage, a confirmation of the insane bond they'd built in the middle of all this violence. "Don't you ever do that again!" The command was absolute. "Do what?" "Follow the plan we all agreed to." Scare me like that. When he pulled that gun, Lucien's voice actually cracked, a rare break in his armor. "I thought I was going to watch you die." Elena just collapses against him, looking for safety from the same guy who puts her in these insane situations. A classic case of falling for your captor. "I'm okay. We're okay. And it's over." Is it? Marco's voice from the doorway sliced right through the moment. "Because Michael's talking and what he's saying is very interesting." They all crowd around a speaker. Michael's voice, weak from pain but dripping with the usual arrogance, confirms everything. The surveillance was his father's scheme, the first step in a hostile takeover with Michael as his man on the inside. But wait, it gets better. He starts dropping names, a whole list of dirty cops, and then the final KO punch. The rat inside the Varelli family who handed them the keys to the kingdom. You could hear a pin drop when the name comes out. "Thomas Reeves." Michael spits through the speaker. "Your head of IT. He set it all up, ran maintenance, and even gave us a freaking blueprint for where to hide the bugs. We paid him $200,000 up front and another $100,000 when the job was done. Reeves, the quiet IT nerd, 3 years with the family, the guy who controlled their entire digital life. Find him," Lucien growls, his voice pure ice. "Now." "I'm on it," Marco replies, "but he's ghosted. Vanished since yesterday." Then we figure out where he bolted, and we drag his ass back here. Lucian's eyes lock onto Elena's again. "You did it. You found the snake." That praise hits different, a massive reward that solidifies her spot, her importance. She soaks it in, a mix of grim victory and pure soul-crushing exhaustion. They gave her 1 month to find the traitor. She did it in 3 weeks. "So what's next?" she asks. "Next," Lucien declares, "we burn it all to the ground. Every system Reeves ever touched gets ripped out. Every line of code changed. Every single piece of hardware gets checked." He pulls her in close. "And you? You get a permanent chair at the main table. No more trials. No more proving your worth. You earned this." Elena just melts into him, the last of her adrenaline finally crashing. And Michael and his dad? They're gonna face justice. Our version of justice, not some courtroom, he clarifies, his expression hard as stone. That statement puts a massive wall between their world and everyone else's. "The council gets the final say, but my money's on exile if they get lucky. A bullet if they don't." "And Reeves? Same thing. He sold out the family. There's only one way to pay for that. The fact that she feels zero guilt is a terrifying milestone in her own character development. She's downloading their moral code, where feeling anything for an outsider is a critical weakness. To her, what's coming isn't murder, it's just the bill coming due. I want to go home, she whispers. Lucian nods. Let's go home. Going back to the mansion hits differently this time. Lighter. Like she's finally accepted her place inside this violent, gold-plated cage. While their tech guy, Chen, goes full-on Ghostbuster, sweeping the entire mansion for listening devices, the rest of the staff just wanders around, totally clueless about the shadow war that almost exploded in their faces. Back in her room, Elena strips off her tactical gear and every single muscle is screaming. The weapon gets locked away. She just stares at her reflection, checking out the new bruises popping up next to the old scars, like a twisted map of how she got here. Lucian shows up in the doorway, having ditched the bloody shirt. You need to rest. I should, but I won't. She turns to face him. It's actually over. He hits her with a truth that's also a low-key threat. This battle is, but there's always another war. Always. He closes the distance between them, his hands landing on her waist. This life doesn't get any easier, Elena. It just gets bloodier and the stakes get higher. Are you 100% sure this is what you want? It's the final pop quiz. She looks deep inside, weighing the non-stop terror and violence against this weird feeling of belonging she's found. She used to run from this world. Now she's deciding to own it. I'm sure, she says, her voice rock solid. Not because it's easy, and definitely not because it's safe, but because it's mine. My decision. My life, and because you're in it, this is it. The turning point where she flips the script, transforming the trauma that ties them together into a conscious choice. You have me, he confirms. For better or worse. Let's be real, it'll probably be for worse. I'll take worse, she breathes out. Worse is what keeps it interesting. He kisses her then, a long, deep kiss that feels to her like a finale. The deal is sealed. She is finally totally one of them. The data was a straight-up train wreck, a maze of pure risk where every single path dead-ended in total failure. But deep down in that gut-level math, it was the only move to make. Like he was being pulled by some invisible string, Lucian closed the gap, pressing his forehead against hers. Everything else just vanished. Tomorrow? It's the council, he whispered, his voice a low rumble against her skin. They're gonna want a full report on Michael, the surveillance, everything. You have to be there. She nodded. And after that? He asked, the real question just hanging there between them. After, we start over, our way, together. Together? The word sounded alien coming from him, like a word from a language his world never taught him. I think I could get used to that. A tiny smile appeared on Elena's lips, a silent agreement. Me too. Outside, the city kept humming along, totally unaware that a predator named Thomas Reeves was still hunting in its shadows. And for the Romanos, father and son, a storm of payback was brewing. The entire foundation of their world was cracking, all because Elena Varelli wasn't some protected chess piece anymore. She was the player moving all the pieces. She had proven her value with blood and brains, carving out her own damn spot, the food chain. For the first time, a kind of calm washed over her, a sense of being exactly where she was supposed to be. Here, In the heart of the monster's den, she was building a new reality with the man she chose, a reality way better than the one she tried to run from. This wasn't a prison, it was home. The council chamber didn't feel like an executioner's block anymore. Elena walked in with a whole new vibe, her old fears gone like a bad memory. Lucian was right beside her, not as her bodyguard, but as her equal. Her spot at the main table, a seat of real power, not just for show, was met with quiet, salty acceptance. At the head of it all sat Dominic, her father, looking healthier than he had in weeks. The gnarly cut on his face had healed into a thin, silver line. Marco, his loyal shadow, stood right behind him, arms crossed over his chest. A human wall, his eyes doing a constant sweep of the room for any danger, a habit you pick up after trauma that never really leaves. The other family bosses were there. Santos walked in first, giving Elena a nod that was way more than a hello. It was a straight-up acknowledgement of her new rank. Castellano came next, a look of major annoyance on his face that couldn't quite hide that he knew he had no choice but to be there. Moretti was present too, staring at the wall like it was the most interesting thing in the world. A weak little silent protest. Let's get started. Dominic's voice sliced through the tension as they all sat. We have a lot to cover. The first hour was all business, just updates on the Romano situation. Both father and son were locked down in a black site, their lives hanging by the council's thread. The son, Michael, had apparently sung his little heart out, trading his dad's entire operation for a slightly less terrible version of hell. The confession was a masterclass in backstabbing, giving them every little thing they needed to knock down the last supports of the Romano family's whole enterprise. The real issue, Santos interrupted, his voice like silk, is what happens to their assets. The port, their political connections, the whole machine they spent 30 years building. It can't just evaporate. It gets divided, Castellano snapped back, his greed showing instantly. Split up based on what this little war cost each of us. My family is down 2 guys. That's not cheap. We all lost people, Marco shot back, his voice sharp. And trying to put a price tag on a body is a stupid game. So what's your plan? Elena had been a ghost up until this point, just watching, listening, reading the room's currents of greed and paranoia. Now her voice, steady and cool, cut right through the noise. We don't divide it. We absorb it. The entire room went dead quiet. Seriously, you could have heard a feather drop. Every single boss in that room just snapped their head around to stare at her. Explain, Dominic ordered, his tone completely neutral. The Romano network was effective because it was one entity. The port supplied the trucks paid off the politicians, and the politicians kept the port safe. If you slice it up into little pieces, you destroy it. But if you keep it intact and run it as a single unit, she let that thought just hang there in the heavy silence. You're proposing a consortium, Santos said. You could almost see the gears grinding in his head. Shared management of everything the Romanos used to own. I'm proposing we stop this stupid, endless cycle of fighting each other for table scraps. I'm proposing a coalition. Our real power is when we work together. Romano proved it. He nearly took us all out because we were all too busy protecting our own sandboxes to notice the wolf sneaking in. Moretti let out a short, nasty laugh, pure disrespect. That's a fairy tale. Pacts like that never hold. Somebody always gets greedy. Betrayal isn't some possibility, it's a guarantee. Just like Romano proved, Elena shot back, locking eyes with him. You're not wrong. Greed is part of the game, but it's a disease that comes from a broken system, so let's imagine a new one. A system with rules everyone can see, with open books, and with punishments for betrayal that we all sign off on before it ever happens. You're talking about running this thing like a corporation, Castellano sneered, using the word like an insult. I'm talking about how we don't go extinct. The world's getting more advanced. The cops are getting smarter. Technology is making it impossible to stay in the shadows. And every single year, another Romano will pop up. Someone who sees us fighting and decides it's the perfect time to burn the whole city down. Elena leans in, and the whole room feels it. Look, we either level up or we get wiped out. There is no plan C. Santos slowly starts nodding. She's got a point. I've been saying for years our way is busted. Maybe it's time for a new playbook. Moretti just scoffs, waving them off. And you're gonna trust these guys? Castellano would sell his own mom for an extra buck. The Varleys are just making a power grab. Dominic's voice goes ice cold. The Varleys are pushing this because my daughter almost ended up 6 feet under stopping Romano. And because she's right, we've been coasting on ego while the whole damn thing falls apart, and I'm fresh out of patience. And just like that, the room explodes. Castellano and Moretti jump up, shouting their heads off. Santos is trying to play referee. Other dudes are just adding to the noise. Elena's just watching the dumpster fire, seeing exactly how Romano played these clowns against each other. They don't trust anyone. They can't even be in the same room. Total fatal flaw. Under the table, Lucian grabs her hand, a silent, I got you. Enough. Her dad's voice cracks like a whip. The kind of authority you only get from years of being boss. We're not deciding this now, but we are considering it. Elena will write up a formal proposal, the setup, the money splits, the punishments, all of it. We meet in 2 weeks to see it. 2 weeks, Moretti practically chokes. No way. Then she better work fast. Meeting's over. The bosses file out, some still beefing, others already running the numbers in their heads. Santos pauses by Elena. To throw out something this crazy took some serious guts. Or it was just reckless, she says, her voice low. Hard to tell sometimes. He gives her a little smirk. For what it's worth, you're right about the problem. We gotta change. Question is, if you can teach these old dogs any new tricks. After he's gone, Elena's alone in the huge room, and the full weight of what she just did crashes down on her, rebuilding their entire world. On trust, a thing that doesn't exist here, and on teamwork, a word they don't even know. You get that the odds of this working are, like, 0, right? Lucian's voice is low. It's a total long shot. Every single sentence will be a war. Moretti's gonna try to sabotage it. Castellano will try to scam you dry. Even the guys nodding along now will freak out when they see what they actually have to give up. I see it. Then what's the point? Elena finally looks at him, eyes glinting. Because someone has to break the loop. Doing the same messed up thing over and over, hoping it'll turn out different. That's literally insane, right? She pauses, finding the right words. I'm not just trying to survive until the next Romano shows up. I'm trying to build something that actually lasts, something better. For a second, Lucian just stares at her. And you really think you can? I have to. If I don't, then what was any of this for? He steps right up to her, closing the gap, and plants a soft, solid kiss on her forehead. All right, I'm in, he says quietly. Even if this whole thing is destined to crash and burn, that's the spirit. For the next week, Elena goes into absolute beast mode, a blur running on 18-hour days. She dives straight into the guts of Romano's operation, figuring out how it all worked, having secret talks with shady lawyers and money guys. Marco drops massive intel folders on her desk. Her dad gives her all the old war stories. Even Santos throws in his 2 cents uninvited. Lucian is her shadow, the one she tests all her crazy ideas on, staying up with her until dawn, poking holes in her logic until every part of her plan was completely bulletproof. It was brutal. It was exhausting. It was perfect. This whole profit-sharing thing is gonna be a nightmare to enforce, he says, tracing a line on her draft. I know, but if we do it by who brings in the most, Castellano will cheat the numbers. If we do an equal split, Moretti will whine that he's doing all the work. So you picked the middle ground and you're praying they don't rage quit? Pretty much. Lucian shoves the papers back. The plan is solid, Elena. It's genius, actually, but you know they're gonna rip it up just for fun. Let them. It gives us a starting point. The second meeting was somehow even more toxic than the first. Moretti shot down the money model instantly. Castellano made a play to take over all of their muscle. Santos liked the general idea, but wanted to change the entire command structure. And that was just the warm-up act. For 3 brutal hours, they tore her plan to pieces, fighting over every word, questioning her motives. Elena didn't back down. She was a fortress, defending the plan, giving up a small piece here or there, but never budging on the important stuff. Lucian was right beside her, a silent wall of support. Her dad even jumped in, his voice a low growl, reminding them the only other choice was to stay weak and divided. This is all cute and naive, Moretti sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. But what happens when someone breaks the rules? When one of us looks out for their own family first? Then we drop the hammer. All of us. Elena slid another folder onto the table. It landed with a thud in the dead silent room. This lays out the whole system for settling scores. A neutral third party calls the shots, fines that get bigger the more you screw up, and if it comes to it, we all go to war with the family that steps out of line. The threat was just hanging there. Civil war. I'm saying we hold each other accountable. Yeah, it could start a fight, but a controlled burn with rules is a hell of a lot better than the free-for-all we have now. Castellano leaned in, trying to find a weak spot. And who gets to decide what a last resort is? Who makes that call? We do, she said, looking around the room. A majority vote from this council, and the one on trial doesn't get a vote. No one man gets that kind of power. The questions were relentless, each one a knife looking for a crack. Elena blocked every single one, her confidence growing with every attack, feeding off the strength of her own plan. It wasn't perfect. A system designed to control this many egos could never be, but it was solid. Finally, Dominic called the vote, all in favor of giving this a shot, trial run. Santos's hand shot up instantly, a beat, then 2 more hands, then another. Moretti and Castellano didn't vote no, they sat on their hands, totally different. The motion passed. Elena felt weeks of tension just melt away. It wasn't relief, the real work was just starting, but it was proof. Proof that she could do more than just dodge bullets and spot traps. "Congrats are in order," Santos said after the room cleared out. "You just rewired the entire city." "How's it feel?" he asked. "Terrifying," Elena admitted. No hesitation. "Good. Stay terrified. It keeps you on your toes." That night, the family had dinner. It was relaxed, casual, nothing like the stiff and formal meals she grew up with. Her dad was there, Lucian, Marco, and a couple of old-timers who'd earned their spots. Dominic raised his glass. "To Elena, who did what we couldn't do in decades in 1 month." "I had help," she said, trying to deflect. "You had tools. You built this." He smiled, and it was pure fatherly pride, something she realized she'd been desperate for. "Your mother would have been so proud." Those words hit her like a punch to the gut, a total emotional sneak attack she never saw coming. She raised her own glass, trying to fight the burn in her eyes. "To family, the one you're born into and the one you choose." They drank, and for the first time, Elena felt like she actually belonged. Not as some prize to be protected, but as an equal. Someone who got her seat at the table because she earned it, not because of her last name. Later, when most everyone had left, Lucian found her on the balcony over the gardens, the exact same spot where, just weeks ago, she was planning her great escape from this whole life. "Thinking about making a run for it?" he asked, his voice soft, reading her mind like it was nothing. "No, just remembering I wanted to." She leaned into him as he wrapped his arms around her. "Feels like a whole other life." And it was. "You've changed, better or worse. For real, the Elena who wanted to run was scared, trapped, just looking for a way out." So he goes, "This Elena," turning her around to face him, "she walks into a place and just owns it. She stares down old dudes twice her age and makes them fold. She wrecks power structures that have been around forever and builds new stuff from the wreckage. She just fires back. This Elena also gets shot and almost bleeds out on a pretty regular basis." "A minor detail," he says with a little smirk. "Nobody's perfect." He leans in, and the kiss is long and heavy, saying everything they don't need to. "But you're perfect for me." Elena pulls back just enough to nail him with a look. "So now what? Romano's toast. The families are behaving. The crisis is handled. What's next?" "We build. We guard what we built. And we wait for the next fight, 'cause there's always a next fight." His whole vibe shifts, his face turning dead serious. "And we gotta put a label on whatever this is between us." His voice was way low. "I was kind of thinking we already did. We got feelings, a partnership that clicks, sure, but there's logistics, where we live, our personal lives crashing into this life, and whether." He just stops, like the words got stuck. "Whether what?" "Whether the future you see is the same one I see." Elena felt her heart start hammering her ribs like a drum solo. "And what future is that?" "One where you're more than my partner, where this gap between us," he motions between them, "becomes a done deal, no takebacks." She just watched him, the silence getting loud. Are you asking what I think you're asking? I'm asking if you'd ever be open to it someday. When the world chills out for 5 minutes. He looked stressed. A totally weird look on a guy who usually faces death looking bored. I get the issues, this world, the expectation, all of it. But I had to let you know where I stand. Because if you're not in, if that's not a place you ever want to be. Elena shut down his nervous rambling with a kiss. Yes. One word, that's it. Yes, I'd consider it. Yes, I want that future. Yes to every part of it. The shock on his face was almost funny. You really thought I was gonna say no. I figured you might need some time, to be sure. Lucien, I've been sure about you since I was 18. Everything before now was just me, waiting for you to finally notice I was right here. He kissed her again, harder this time, and Elena felt the last little bits of the girl she was crumble into nothing. The girl who wanted to bolt, who saw her life as some fancy prison. Gone. Somebody else was standing there now, tougher, more certain, more her than she'd ever been. The next morning, her phone buzzing wakes Elena up. Blocked number. We need to talk. I've got major intel on Reeves. Come alone. An address came next. She read it again, and every single instinct screamed that this was a trap. Thomas Reeves basically vaporized after Michael got nabbed. A total ghost. Not peep, not a whisper. Until this. Logic said tell Lucien, bring backup, own the situation. But the meet was a coffee shop. Public, packed, an illusion of safety. And the text was crystal clear. Alone. The choice was already made. 40 minutes later, she steps into the cafe, every nerve on high alert, scanning for anything that feels off. It's the morning rush, just a mob of people getting their coffee. No obvious thugs, no one looking like hired muscle. And then she spotted him. Thomas Reeves jammed in a corner booth, looking like a ghost of the guy she remembered. He was pale, ragged, with the dead eyes of a man who's already accepted he's going to die and is just waiting for it to happen. Elena slid into the seat across from him. You've got a hell of a lot of nerve. I know, but I had to. He pushed a flash drive across the cheap table. Everything I did for Romano, every contact, every secret. It's all right there. Why? 'Cause I am dead either way. Romano's crew will kill me for messing up. Our crew will kill me for being a traitor. This way. Maybe I get one decent act in before I die. Elena just sized him up, seeing nothing but pure terror and a regret so deep it was eating him alive. You took $200,000 to sell out your own people. Men are dead because of you. I know. His voice just broke. I needed the cash, medical bills, my daughter. She's sick and the insurance wouldn't. He trailed off like he could hear how pathetic it sounded. It doesn't make it right. I know that, but this is me trying to fix what I can. With a flash drive, you think that solves anything? No, nothing can solve this, but maybe it'll keep the next poor sucker from making my mistakes. Maybe it'll give the family better security than I ever did. He stood up, leaving the tiny piece of tech on the table. I'm sorry, Miss Varelli, for what it's worth. And just like that, he was gone before Elena could even process what to say. She just sat there, staring at the drive, running all the tactical options through her head. Follow him, call Lucien, or just grab the intel and bounce. She snatched the drive and walked. Back at the safe house, she plugged it into a clean laptop. a ghost computer with zero network access. The files were a bombshell. Security blueprints, communication logs, financial records. Everything Reeves said was on there, and then some. There was intel on other security holes, notes on how to plug them, even a freaking list of other IT guys who were dirty. It was both a confession and a game plan. You went alone. Lucien's voice cut through the air from the doorway, sharp and loaded with a rage he was barely keeping a lid on. After everything, you decided to meet a known snake. By yourself. Elena knew this fight was coming. It was a public spot. The risk was minimal. There is no minimal risk when you're dealing with a guy who's already burned down his own life. He wanted to give us this. She snapped back, pointing at the laptop screen. Intel we never would have gotten otherwise. And yeah, I made a judgment call. That's my job now. Your job isn't to be a daredevil. I wasn't. I was being strategic. There's a big difference. She stood up to meet his glare. You're gonna have to accept that I make my own calls, even the ones you hate. Even when they put you right in the crosshairs. Especially then. This is the life. It's nothing but risk and danger and picking between bad options. You've been doing it for years. Now it's my turn. He looked like he was in agony, raking a hand through his hair. I just got you back. I am not about to lose you. You're not losing me. You're just getting to know the new me. She reached out, her hands finding his. I need you to trust me like I've always trusted you. I need you to believe I can handle this, even when the idea makes you want to freak out. I'm in a constant state of freaking out. Good. Stay scared. It'll keep you on your toes. A little smile played on her lips as she used his own line against him. Now come see what our boy Reeves gave us. It's surprisingly detailed. For the next hour, they ripped the files to shreds, sorting through the data, organizing the intel. Reeves didn't just confess, he drew them a freaking map of their own collapsing empire, highlighting every single crack in the walls and explaining how to fix it. It was the final statement of a guy begging for a pardon he knew he'd never get. So, what's the play with him? Elena finally asked. Reeves, he's a dead man walking. What's the protocol? His mind was a war zone. He sold us out. People died. By every rule we have, he should be put down like a rabid dog. She kept her gaze locked on the screen. And yet, he's trying to fix it. He handed us the keys to our own survival. You're actually thinking about letting him walk. I'm thinking there are options besides a body bag. We could just exile him, strip him of everything brick by brick, make it so he can never come near this life again. But we let him live with his kid. Lucien chewed on the words. The council will lose their minds. They'll scream for blood. Then the council doesn't find out. We tell them he disappeared. Case closed. That's mercy, Elena. This world wasn't built on mercy. Maybe it's about time we changed that. Her eyes were glued to his, not even blinking. I'm not saying we forgive him. I'm saying we choose not to be the ones stacking another body. That for once we break the damn cycle. A long, thick silence filled the room before Lucien gave one quick, sharp nod. Done. We play it your way, but if he even thinks about our direction again, if he becomes a problem, we end it. For now, his punishment was to live with the mess he made. A special kind of hell. The story went out quick and dirty. Reeves was found taking a swim in the river, permanently. The council stamped the file closed without asking questions. Another problem solved. And somewhere far, far away, Thomas Reeves was getting used to a new name, with the weight of his choices as his only company. Elena kept telling herself that mercy was a power play, not a weakness. But late at night, she'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering about the ghost she'd let go, and if it would eventually come back to collect a debt from all of them. Only time would tell. The next few weeks were a chaotic mess of war room strategy sessions and negotiations that felt more like standoffs. The new alliance was taking shape slowly, with every family pushing and prodding, looking for the first crack. Sparks were flying, pure chaos threatening to burn the whole damn thing to the ground. But Elena was the glue, the peacemaker, the pivot point, the only thing keeping this shaky house of cards from collapsing. The Romano turf got absorbed into a collective trust. Every single cent was split based on a brutal formula she cooked up. And little by little, the families started playing nice, or at least something that looked like it. "You're actually pulling this off." Marco blurted out one afternoon, staring at the new numbers. "I swear I thought it was impossible." It was basically impossible. Could still explode. Elena dug her fingers into her temples, feeling the exhaustion deep in her bones. Castellano is already bitching for a bigger cut. That's just how he breathes. The fact he's fighting over percentages instead of just taking warehouses means the plan is working. Small wins. Elena was starting to realize those were the only wins you get. And in the middle of this hurricane, her thing with Lucian got serious. They got their own place, away from the family compound, but still protected. Their own fortress. A spot to just exhale, far from the insane pressure of their lives. They figured out the little routines of living together. Elena learned Lucian was a total psycho about his coffee and a walking disaster in the kitchen. He learned she needed total silence to scheme and had a secret stash of ancient books. They argued about tactics, about what level of risk was okay, about what the future even looked like. But they also found quiet moments, talked about what could be, and started to build something that felt like it might not just blow up tomorrow. One night, after a council meeting went nuclear and turned into a screaming match, Elena finally asked the question that was eating her alive. "You think any of this is for real? Any of it?" "What are you talking about?" "All this, the coalition, the new way, this whole attempt to make something that isn't just about survival. Are we actually fixing anything? Or are we just decorating the same old cage?" Lucian went dead silent for a long time. "I think we're planting seeds. No idea if they'll grow into something better or just something different. We won't know for years." "That's not exactly comforting." "It's the truth." He pulled her in tighter. "But I know this. Before you showed up, this family was on life support. Surviving, maybe, but going nowhere. You ripped up every single rule, questioned everything, and you forced us to level up. That's huge. Even if this all crashes and burns, even then, because we tried something new, we didn't just roll over and accept this is how it has to be." Elena's mind flashed to her mother, who died trying to get a different ending, to her father, who hid her from this world instead of training her for it, to all the ghosts who came before, all fighting and dying in the same endless, bloody loop. Maybe this was it. Maybe they were finally breaking the cycle, or just building a new one. Whatever was happening, they were in it together. "I love you," she whispered, the words feeling wild and heavy on her tongue. I love you too, even when you're being a crazy lunatic and giving me a heart attack. Especially then. He let out a dark laugh, and Elena felt a month of stress just melt off her. Tomorrow was going to be another flood of impossible decisions, another pack of wolves trying to tear down everything they were building. But for tonight, in this room, the world went quiet. She'd stopped running, stopped hiding from what she was, and by walking straight into the fire, she'd found things she never saw coming: light, a purpose, a home. The empire they were building was a mess, a violent, chaotic beast held together with nothing but her sheer will and his paranoia. But it was theirs, and that was the game changer. 6 months after the coalition started, Elena was staring at a massive city map, a galaxy of colored pins showing territory, assets, and shaky new deals. What started as a total long shot was becoming real. It wasn't clean, not even close. Fights still broke out. Old beef still threatened to screw everything up. But it was holding, expanding. The Santos family wants the northern distribution routes, Marco said, reading off a list. They're saying the population boom means they deserve a bigger piece of the action. And the numbers? Elena asked, her eyes glued to the map. They've got a point. The northern suburbs have grown 30% in 2 years. But giving them that whole corridor means they're bumping right into the Moretti warehouses. Then they don't get the route. We make them partner with Moretti. They split the turf. They split the cash. Both families get a piece of the growth. Marco jotted it down. Moretti's gonna lose his mind. Moretti's default setting is losing his mind. He'll survive. Elena finally looked away from the map. What else? The usual. Castellano is whining about his profit margins again. 2 crews are fighting over a property line. Oh, and we've got intel. New players are trying to move into the east. Define new players. Are they competition or are they a problem? Too early to say, but they've got cash, they're disciplined, and they're asking a lot of questions about our setup. Elena felt that old familiar chill. 6 months of quiet had made her soft. Way too soft. Get a team on them. I want a full breakdown, who they are, who they work for, and what their endgame is before they become a real headache. Already on it. Lucian is handling it himself. Of course he was. Lucian had channeled all his scary-as-hell focus into being the Coalition's attack dog. Elena knew he was still trying to figure out this new world, still learning how to end problems with contracts instead of headshots. It wasn't easy for him. Some nights she'd catch him just staring out the window, scanning the city like he expected an invasion at any second. But he was trying. They both were. Is that it? Elena asked. Your father wants to see you. Said it was important. She found Dominic in his study, buried behind his usual mountain of paperwork. But something was off. He looked exhausted in a way that sleep couldn't touch, like a deep weariness had settled in his bones. You wanted to see me? She asked, dropping into the chair across from his desk. I've been thinking about what comes next, he said, just cutting straight to it. A knot twisted in Elena's stomach. Dad, stop! Hear me out! I'm not dying, but I'm not getting any younger. What went down with Romano? It was a wake-up call. He set down his pen. I built this family, this life. But what you've done in 6 months, this coalition, these deals, this entire new way of operating, I could have never even dreamed of it, let alone done it. That's not true. The foundation, that was all you. I built it for a world that's already gone. You're building for the world that's scratching its way out of the dark. It just feels right that I should get out of the way and let you build it without my shadow covering every move. The words slammed into Elena like a punch to the gut. You're retiring, I'm transitioning, I'll still be around for advice, for whatever you need. But the day-to-day operations, the master plan, the entire future of this family, that's on you now. And Lucian, you earned it. A lump formed in Elena's throat, her body's primal reaction to the insane weight of a crown being dropped on her head. I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep building. Say you'll give all of this a purpose besides just not dying. A tiny smile hit Dominic's lips, a tragic mix of warmth, sadness, and insane pride. Your mother would be so damn proud of you. My only regret is that she's not here to see the woman you became. I know that feeling all too well. A heavy quiet fell between them, a silence that was louder than any words, saying everything they couldn't. The room felt thick with the ghosts of old choices and the massive weight of the future. Finally, Dominic got up. He went to a safe hidden behind some generic painting, a total mob movie cliché, and pulled out a small box for Elena. This was your mother's. She wanted you to have it when the time was right. Inside was a ring, a single simple diamond Elena recognized from old photos. It never left her mother's hand. She told me once this ring was about a choice, Dominic said, his voice dropping low. She had a shot to get out, to leave your father and this entire ugly life. But she stayed. She chose to fight for something she thought was worth the price. His eyes locked onto hers. You've made the same choice, and I think she would want you to know that. Elena slid the ring onto her finger. It fit like a glove. Of course it did. It had been waiting for her. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just promise me you'll be smarter than we were. That you'll build something that doesn't have to run on violence to stay alive. I promise. Later that night, she found Lucian lit up by the cold glow of security monitors. The second he saw her, the hard, watchful look on his face vanished, replaced by pure, simple concern. You okay? Marco said your dad sent for you. So get this, the old boss is tapping out, just handing the whole operation over. Lucian literally freezes like the entire planet just hit the brakes. It's gonna be a slow takeover over a couple of months. He's making it legit at the next council meeting. Elena flashes a ring, the light catching it just right. He gave me this. It was my mother's. Lucian takes her hand, his thumb sliding over the ancient metal. Fits you perfectly. She tells him her dad said her mom chose this insane life, knowing the price, because the fight mattered. Elena looks him dead in the eye. I think about that. I think what we're building. It's not perfect, it's not safe, but it matters. It could be bigger than us. She slides her fingers into his. My father asked something else too. He asked if we'd ever thought about making this official. And boom, Lucian's stone-cold mask finally cracks. Have we? You mentioned it 6 months ago, a future where I wasn't just your ride or die. I remember. You said eventually. I've been holding out for eventually. Elena's heart is about to punch its way out of her chest. What if eventually is right now? He gets up, slow, deliberate, and cups her face. Is that you asking or me? Who cares? Not one bit. He kisses her, a kiss that's all soft certainty. Yes, to all of it. To us. Forever. To building this whole damn thing. Even knowing it's gonna be messy, dangerous, and a total train wreck. That's the best part. I don't want easy, Elena. I want this. I want you. She pulls him in, and everything just clicks into place inside her. This is it. Terrifying, messed up, but absolutely the right path. The announcement at the council meeting goes down exactly as you'd expect. Santos gives them a real smile. Moretti looks like he just chugged poison, while Castellano just shrugs like, yeah, saw that coming. The crazy part? No one says no, which in their world is basically a standing ovation. This shifts the balance of power, Castellano states, his voice totally flat. The Varelli family just got a massive upgrade with you two in charge. It also locks down the leadership. Santos claps back. One line of succession, a united front. That's a win for everybody. As long as the power doesn't make them crazy. It won't, Elena cuts in, slicing through the tension. Because we're not building an empire. We're building something that lasts. A system that works for everyone, not just for the top. After that, the meeting is just business as usual. New gangs pushing from the east, turf wars, splitting the profits. And Elena and Lucian? They move like a single unit. One well-oiled machine. They'd found their rhythm months ago, this silent language that let them know when to attack, when to back off, when to be a brick wall, and when to show a little heart. It wasn't perfect. They still fought. Blow-ups over strategy were gonna happen. But they'd figured out how to argue, how to go at each other without wrecking the foundation they'd built. After the meeting, Santos catches Elena's eye. Got a second? In a quiet corner, Santos's usual chill vibe is gone, replaced by something serious. I gotta warn you, he says, his voice low. Those new crews from the east? I did some digging. They're backed by foreign money. We're talking Eastern European, Russian syndicates. This isn't just competition, Elena. This is a hostile, organized takeover. An ice-cold dread hits Elena right in the gut. How solid is this intel? Solid enough that I'm not sleeping? They're buying up property, recruiting on our streets, building a network. These are not small-time moves. This is a long-game invasion. Santos stares right at her. Your little coalition is a great idea, Elena, but it also painted a massive bullseye on your back. You united the families and made something worth stealing, and now there are sharks circling, ready to take it. What's your play? Fortify everything. The coalition is great for stopping internal beef, but you need a unified army to fight an outside threat, and you needed it yesterday. Elena feels that familiar crushing weight of her world crashing down again. They spent 6 months building this fragile peace, and now she might have to drag them all into a full-blown war. I appreciate the heads up, she says, and I appreciate you bringing it straight to me. Most bosses wouldn't. A small smile touches Santos's lips. You're good at this, you know, better than any of us want to say out loud. That night, Elena lays it all out for Lucian. They're at their dining table, the city lights spread out below them like a field of fallen stars, and they start planning a war. Intel first, Lucian says, his voice like stone. We need to confirm every word, Santos said. Names, numbers, what they're capable of. Agreed. But we also have to prep the other families. If this is real, we go in together. Some will resist. Moretti will scream it's a power grab. Castellano will demand proof before he risks a single guy. Then we'll get him his proof. We'll watch every move, build a case so airtight nobody can deny it, and then we drop it on the council's table. Elena rubs her temples. This is exactly what I was afraid of. We build one stable thing, one thing that actually works, and the whole world lines up to tear it down. That's just how it is. The only difference is now we have something worth fighting for. Lucian's hand covers hers across the table. We'll deal with it. Together. Suri. For the next 3 weeks, intel became their entire life. Lucian's network confirmed everything Santos warned them about. The Eastern crew was real, had deep pockets, and was sinking its claws into the city's foundation. Their sloppiness screamed one thing: insane confidence, or maybe just pure arrogance. Elena calls an emergency meeting. She puts it all on the table: the papers, the surveillance footage, the money trails. You could hear a pin drop as the reality of the situation crushes them all. This is worse than Romano, Marco says, his voice totally dead inside. Romano was a cancer in our own house. This is a damn army at our gate. What's their goal? Castellano asks. To burn us to the ground, Lucian spits back. They're planning to wipe us out, jack our businesses, our territory, our connections. They see this alliance as a joke. Too many leaders. They think we're an easy target. Are we? Moretti's voice is a straight-up challenge. Only if we act like it. Elena moves to the tactical map. It's a textbook power move. Use an outside threat to build your own empire from the inside. The word she chooses, surviving, is a calculated shot aimed right at the deepest fear every single boss in that room has. The arguments that pop up are just static. Moretti bitching about cash and Castellano whining about control are just pathetic covers for the real issue. They are terrified of handing over their power to someone new, even if it's their only shot. We have a choice, she says, her words cutting through the thick dead air like a scalpel. We fall apart, or we stand together. She lays out the brutal truth: scatter and get picked off one by one, or face the hurricane as a single force. When she says, then we lose together, she brilliantly flips the script on failure, turning it from a lonely disgrace into a legendary last stand, making the insane risk feel almost noble. The vote isn't about unity, it's about pure, unfiltered terror forcing them all to move in sync. The mobilization is a done deal, a tidal wave of adrenaline and firepower answering a threat to their existence. She basically enters a waking nightmare, running on a 20-hour-a-day schedule powered by bitter coffee and raw adrenaline. The fact that the enemy is countering every single move, every fake out, can only mean one thing. The traitor is inside the organization. Her switch from defense to offense is a fundamental change in her very soul. This is the moment the cornered animal, bleeding out, decides to stop running and start hunting, a raw, violent gamble to force her will onto a world spinning out of control. Showing Lucian the plan is like holding a lit match to a barrel of gunpowder. He gets it instantly. The pure, uncut aggression of the strategy. A first strike. She sees him hesitate for a split second and leans in, her voice a low whisper that reframes the whole thing, not as an attack, but as a way to shatter the enemy's confidence, to throw them completely off balance, a total game changer. Brilliant, he breathes out, the word equal parts amazement and pure terror. Absolutely terrifying. When he asks where she learned to think like that, she throws it right back at him, giving him credit for his own brutal lessons, a quiet nod to the twisted, unbreakable bond they share. The plan kicks off 3 days later, under a sky with no moon. It's a symphony of attacks across the city, not designed to wipe them out, but to break their minds. The goal is pure chaos, to make them panic and show their weak spots, to burn away the fantasy that the coalition was an easy mark. The retaliation is instant, and it is savage, a complete inferno. For 2 weeks, the city is a straight-up meat grinder, a nightmare of street warfare. She's living in the twilight zone of exhaustion, a ghost trying to manage the bloody mess, her brain frantically searching for a way out that isn't paved with the bodies of her own people. So here's the setup. Lucian is the hammer, owning the streets, while she's the ghost in the machine, calling the shots from the shadows. Clean. But then a message from Santos drops. The enemy wants to talk. And for Elena, it's a 1-2 punch. First, this massive, full-body sense of relief hits her, followed instantly by the iciest suspicion you can imagine. The math was easy. The enemy screwed up. They expected a broken crew, but walked right into a brick wall of pure, organized violence. Their offer to split the city. Not a peace treaty. It's a scam, a desperate move to catch their breath before the real carnage kicks off again. This was just a timeout for them to rearm, patch up their wounded, and get ready for the main event. Santos's whole take, a tie is better than a loss, was basically him admitting how many of their own guys were already in the ground. Back at HQ, Lucian's the one who lays it all out. He talks about the dead-eyed look on their soldiers' faces, the insane human toll of this war, and basically begs for the truce as their only move. It feels like giving up, she shoots back, the words tasting like poison. But he's not having it, telling her flat out they can't build anything real on an endless pile of bodies. Then he drops the bomb. He's only pushing for this because of her. A crazy confession of feelings that just hangs there between them like smoke. The negotiations were a joke. 3 days of ice-cold gangster theater. You had Elena, the face of the coalition, sitting opposite Dmitri, the enemy boss. This guy was a total narcissist who only spoke the language of profit. When he called her operation an impressive machine, it wasn't a compliment. It was one shark acknowledging another. Their entire chat was just a cold trade of threats and assets. So they drew up a deal. The city gets chopped in half with stone-cold logic, with rules for every possible screw-up. It was a peace treaty built on a house of cards, held together by nothing but pure greed. "I'll take profit over principles," Dmitri says, basically summing up the whole rotten agreement. The signing itself was sterile, a fake show of legitimacy for anyone watching. In her report to the council, Elena spun the whole stalemate into a massive win. A political masterstroke that bought them the 2 things they desperately needed: stability and time. Getting the nod from her father was the last piece of the puzzle she'd spent her whole life trying to solve. His words, "better than I could have," weren't just praise. It was him passing the crown, healing some old wound deep inside her. The engagement party was a quiet, almost secret thing. Less of a party and more of a ceremony to lock down the alliance between Elena and Lucian, cementing her power by mixing business with blood. Even Moretti, a dude who looks like he was chiseled out of granite, seemed genuinely happy. Santos's toast nailed the messed up beauty of their life, a whole room of professional killers and criminals raising a glass to love. Her dad's last words to her in private were his official blessing, connecting his own 30-year partnership to hers. That little moment was like an absolution, giving her a kind of peace she'd never thought she'd get. "Thank you, Dad." After he told her how proud he was, something inside her just shattered, a total emotional collapse that ended with them in a desperate, clinging hug. The wedding, 3 months later, was a quiet, serious deal. They completely skipped the usual flashy power moves their people loved. The vows they made weren't sappy promises. They were a contract written in blood and steel. Lucian's words were a promise of total loyalty to her and the violent world they shared. "I will always choose you," he vowed. The only promise that meant a damn thing in the hell they called home. "The same as promised," Elena replied, her voice solid. "And I promise to challenge your justifications, to make you grow, and to never let us get comfortable. I promise to be your partner in everything. This marriage, our work in building an empire that lasts." Their kiss wasn't the end of a story. It was the beginning, the brutal, awesome start of a new reality neither of them could have seen coming a year ago. The year after that, new wars, obviously. The truce with Dmitri was holding, but it was a Cold War, a constant tightrope walk. The coalition got bigger, absorbing other crews, its influence creeping into legit businesses. Alana and Lucian had to learn the deadly dance of being partners and spouses, figuring out when to leave the war at the door and when to let it inside. They had huge fights. They made up. They made soul-crushing decisions that kept them up at night and celebrated wins that felt even better because of the blood they'd spilled to get them. Elena's job changed from just running her family to basically holding the entire city-wide coalition together by a thread. She was the politician, the strategist, the one person who could stop the simmering rivalries from blowing their whole world up. It was a crazy, draining burden, and the exact job she'd been training for her entire life without even knowing it. Lucian became her sword and shield, but he learned to fight smarter with a psychological game he picked up from her. He figured out that the threat of violence was way more effective than the real thing. Not that the killer look ever left his eyes. It was always lurking there, a promise that demanded respect. Together, they started rebuilding the family business for a future that wasn't just about surviving until sunrise. They began moving money into legit companies, set up education funds for the kids, and built actual pathways for their soldiers to get out of the life. "You're changing the whole game," Marco told her one day, totally amazed. "Making it about more than just not dying." "Is that a weakness?" she asked him. "No, it's just different. It's revolutionary," he said, a slow smile spreading on his face. "Your mother would be so proud." The thought of her mom was always there for Elena, the woman who picked this world, who bled for it, and who died in it. Elena wore her ring every day. It was a reminder that choice is everything. She could have bailed, but she stayed. She took the broken kingdom she inherited and decided to rebuild it from the ground up. 18 months went by in the quiet grind of building their empire. Then one night, Lucian finally asks the one question that had been hanging over everything they did. "What's the next move?" His voice just sliced through the silence. Across from him, Elena looks up from a spreadsheet. "Be more specific." The coalition is solid. Dmitri is a non-issue. The family business is totally transformed. He shoves his own paperwork away like he's done with it. "We've hit all our targets. But what's the end game? What do we actually want besides just being on high alert 24/7? That question just hung there, super dangerous and fragile. They'd been so deep in survival mode, so focused on putting out fires, they never actually planned for what comes next. I want to grow the legitimate side, Elena said, the idea forming as she spoke, slow and careful. Once she said it, her mission was crystal clear. Build a business so massive and so legit that one day they could cut all ties with the criminal underworld. It wouldn't happen overnight, maybe not even in their lifetimes. A generation, maybe two. She knew that, but that was the goal, to build something that would outlive them, giving their kids options they never had. She looked right at him, not flinching. And I want a family. Kids who get to choose who they want to be, not just born into all this. A long, heavy silence fell over Lucian. I've never really thought about kids. It was a luxury I couldn't afford because honestly, I never thought I'd live long enough for it to matter. And now it's all I can think about. What kind of father I'd be, the broken world we'd be bringing them into, if it's even right to force this life on a kid. My mother did. Your mother did. And look at the train wrecks we turned into. The silence stretched out. Elena's voice was low. Okay, fine. We are, by any sane metric, total disasters. A sharp laugh burst out of him. We're high-functioning disasters. That's gotta count for something, right? We can give them something better. We can build a foundation that won't crumble under them. Give them the choices we had to bleed for. You're really sure about this? I am dead serious about this. With you. A life that's more than just surviving to see the next day. Lucian pulled her close, and for Elena, all the chaotic parts of their world suddenly clicked into place. This was the real endgame. They weren't just securing a business. They were starting a dynasty, something bigger than money and power. 6 months later, they got the news. Elena was pregnant. The families had a mixed reaction of shock and scheming, but in the end, they were all for it. An heir meant things were stable. It meant the bloodline would continue, a sign that the fortress they'd built might actually survive. You're going to be absolutely impossible for the next 9 months, Lucian whispered into her hair, already knowing she wouldn't back down an inch, picturing her running meetings from a hospital bed. My behavior isn't that extreme. It is 100%, and it's one of the things I find most fascinating about you. And he was totally right. Elena, of course, gave up zero power during the pregnancy, running the coalition while also expanding their legitimate businesses. She set up trust funds for the kids of the guys they lost fighting Dimitri's crew. She funded job training programs and scholarships. She was laying down the foundation for a world that looked absolutely nothing like the one she had to claw her way out of. And then, plot twist, their daughter was born. Tiny, perfect. She had Lucian's jet black hair and an exact miniature copy of Elena's own stubborn scowl. In a split second, the whole world zeroed in on that one point. She's incredible, Dominic whispered, holding his granddaughter like she was a mythical creature made of moonlight. What's her name? Isabella, Elena told him, after my mother. Tears just flooded her dad's eyes, popping up out of nowhere. She would have been so ridiculously proud. Holding Isabella, feeling the tiny, crushing weight of a life they now had to defend, Elena finally got her mother's brand of crazy, that burning obsession to fight, to rip the world apart and build something worth dying for. Because right there, in her arms, Elena was holding something worth living for, something worth torching the old world to ashes to keep safe. "We're going to build her a better world," she breathed to Lucian in the middle of the night, the city lights like a far-off galaxy as they watched their daughter sleep. "All this damage in us, the violence, the risk, we'll forge it into a weapon to build her future." "We will," Lucian promised, his voice a heavy vow in the darkness. "If it kills us." The years that followed were a masterclass in precision, a non-stop juggling act of impossible odds. Elena and Lucian raised Isabella right in the heart of a criminal empire, navigating threats while making truces, honoring a bloody past, while charging toward a future no one could recognize. The coalition got bigger. Other families bent the knee, drawn to the stability and a business model not based on pure destruction. Their legit businesses blew up until they were raking in more cash than every single illegal operation combined. Then, with cold calculation, they started the pivot. They weren't just yanking the roots, not all of them, but they were building a corporate tower that could stand in broad daylight. The whole thing was an absolute mess. There were failures, betrayals, moments where the entire structure groaned, about to collapse into nothing. But the foundation held strong. It was built on the weird, new mix of trust and mutual profit, not just the old-school bedrock of fear. 5 years after she first pitched her insane vision, Elena stood in that same council chamber. She looked at the faces, now carved with the lines of a shared, bloody history. Some were gone. Moretti was finally out to pasture, his seat taken by a son with a more modern approach. New banners hung on the walls. The air itself felt different, but the core of it, that hadn't changed. So get this, a room packed with killers and crooks who somehow figured out that building stuff together is way more profitable than taking each other out. Dominic gets up and drops a total bombshell, not like a king, but like a dude giving a TED Talk. "The Varelli family is going legit," he announces. "We're pivoting the whole operation to the corporate sector. We'll keep our promises to you guys, but our main goal now is building an actual enterprise for our kids." And the room just fractures. Some of them get it. They can see the writing on the wall. The others, pure rage. Just a bunch of dinosaurs who can't let go of the old ways. But the numbers don't lie. "This is the next evolution," Elena declares, slicing right through the noise after it calms down. "And it's not just for us. It's for every single one of you. We can either keep running in circles, stupid turf wars, always looking over our shoulder for the feds, or we can build something real, something our kids can be proud of, not something they have to run away from. But of course, you've got one guy." "And what about those of us who don't want to change?" Castellano growls, challenging her. "Then don't," she snaps back. "This whole crew was never about forcing you to do anything. It's about having options, whether you're starting a corporation or sticking to the old racket." Elena's eyes lock onto his, stone cold. "But I'd think long and hard about the legacy you want to leave, about what's going to be left when you're nothing but a name carved on a tombstone." Model? The vote to lock in the Varelli future was a total blowout, and in that quiet win, the future Elena had bled for became real in her mind. A solid place, where her mother's long war had finally produced something more than just scraping by. Later, she finds Lucian on a balcony looking over the massive city, a whole tapestry of electric lights. The years had left their mark on him, faint lines around his eyes, but the core of the man who once admitted a lifelong obsession with her was still right there. "We did it," she said, her voice soft as she came up behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist. He asked, "Did what?" And she shot back, "We built something that actually matters. We fundamentally changed the landscape of our entire world." His deflection was instant, a classic move. "You built it. I just tried to keep out of your way." She wasn't having it. "It was a joint venture. It's the blueprint for everything we do." She rested her head against his shoulder, a comfortable, practiced intimacy. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Picking this life with me instead of some normal one?" His answer came without a single heartbeat of hesitation. Every single day. He let the shock hang in the air for a second before turning, his face softening as he explained the brutal line. "I regret the danger, the fear, every time I thought I was about to lose you. That's what I regret. But us? Never. Not for a second." Her reply was a quiet, solid confirmation. "Good, because I don't either." They just stood there in the silence, watching over their kingdom. The system they had built was far from perfect. It was a living, scarred thing, still haunted by its violent creation. But it held the promise of hope, of change, built on something stronger than fear. And in another room, Isabella slept, dreaming her kid dreams, completely unaware of the massive legacy being constructed all around her. This kid, she thinks, is going to grow up with a universe of choices that I never had. The freedom to walk away from all this or to conquer it, to be an innovator or to stick to tradition. This, Elena knows, is the only mission that counts. Not perfection, just possibility. The goal was never to outrun the darkness, but to bend that darkness into a structure that could, against all odds, actually support light. She had walked straight into the fire she'd spent her life running from, and in that inferno she had forged everything she ever needed. Love, purpose, a place to call her own, a partner that made her more, not less, a life that was more than just a heartbeat. "What are you thinking about?" Lucian asks, his voice quiet in the calm. "That I was wrong about so many things, about what strength is, what love demands, what makes a war worth fighting." She turns her whole body to face him. "But I was right about you, about us." He leans in and kisses her, a confirmation that didn't need any words. And Elena felt that truth settle deep into her bones. This was it. The life her mother chose, the one she had just snatched for herself, a choice made not for an easy ride or for safety, but because some things are worth the blood you spill to build them. They had created a foundation of trust and pure willpower in a world built on fear. It was a fragile, insane bet that power didn't have to corrupt you, that love could survive in the line of fire, and that people could actually change if you just gave them a damn good reason. This was nothing like the fairy tales she was told as a kid. It was better. It was real and broken, and she had fought for every single inch of it. It made every single shady choice that got them to this one moment completely worth it. In a world of control, they had created an exception. Just two people refusing to let go of who they were or what they had built, reaffirming their choice in each other every single day, especially when the guns were pointed at them. They were living proof that love could exist in the same heart as power, that tenderness could live alongside brutality, that hope could somehow bloom in the middle of the harshest reality. They had taken their dark world and molded it into something that could actually nurture a life. In doing that, they found more than just a way to survive. They found a reason. This wasn't just an empire, it was a home. The city sprawled out in front of them, a map of infinite promise and endless danger. But the knot of anxiety that had lived in Elena's chest for so long was finally gone. She had learned the hardest lesson of all. The bravest thing you can do isn't to run from the monster. It's to stand your ground, your hand in the hand of the one person who sees every broken part of you and loves you anyway. She had built an empire, yes, but more importantly, she had built a life, a meaningful life with him, a bond strong enough to keep the dark at bay. And that was worth more than any score.